The life of a ninja beginning in the Hidden Mist Village. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Dispute. Ninjutsu. The refugees who were blocked by the ice wall that appeared out of nowhere immediately recognized that someone had performed a ninjutsu. Ninja. How could there be a ninja among them? Seeing the young man looking down at them on the ice wall, someone asked his companions loudly. A convoy with ninja guards and a convoy without ninja guards are completely different. I don't know. During the day, we didn't see any ninjas following the convoy. Someone replied anxiously. As early as during the day, one of their companions discovered this convoy full of goods. After confirming that there were less than 10 guards on the convoy, they chose to beg from this weakly protected caravan. At this time, the sudden appearance of the ninja completely exceeded their expectations, and the entire refugee team was in chaos. Intimidated by the power of the ninja, they all stopped approaching the caravan. But the look in their eyes, when they looked at the 10 trucks, was still full of desire, reluctance, and even a trace of greed. The ice wall was only 10 meters long, and they could have easily bypassed it, but even so, they still didn't dare to cross the line. The cold ice wall, like a natural moat, stood in front of them. It was not just an ice wall, but the gap between ninjas and mortals. Don't kill them. Terumi Mei rushed to Qishuang's side, pressed down the boy's hands that were about to make a seal, and said seriously, "They are just a group of homeless poor people. Let them go." Qishuang sighed, loosened his fingers, looked at the crowd on the other side of the ice wall, and said slowly, "Originally, I didn't plan to kill them. I just wanted to teach them a lesson and let them leave. When have you ever seen me kill innocent people? It's not that he hasn't killed ordinary people, but they were all targets required by some tasks, such as thieves and robbers. Under normal circumstances, he would not kill ordinary people. After all, he is not a bloodthirsty person." Hearing this, Terumi finally let go of his hand and sighed. "They are so pitiful." With the light of the fire, she saw that outside the ice wall, many refugees were half-dressed, pale, and thin, and they didn't know how long it had been since they had a good meal. They were no different from a group of beggars. Outside the ice wall, the refugees were very scared when they saw 2 ninjas wearing Mist Ninja forehead protectors. After all, the Mist Ninjas were notoriously ruthless. Maybe they would kill them all in the name of protecting the caravan. But after hearing the beautiful Mist Ninja girl pleading with her companions, a glimmer of hope suddenly ignited in their hearts. Because the girl was a little soft-hearted. "My lords, we haven't had a full meal for 2 days. Please, be kind and give us some food." Someone immediately pleaded loudly. "Yes, your caravan has 10 carts of cantaloupes. You only need to give us 1 cart. Just 1 cart is enough." Someone followed and echoed. As early as during the day, they had heard that the caravan was loaded with a lot of fruit. This is one of the reasons why they chose this caravan. After all, food is what they need most urgently. Then, there were begging voices from the crowd. "My lord, please give us some. Please." Hearing this voice, and looking at the yellow-faced and thin refugees begging desperately, Terumi found it difficult to say no. Even though she had experienced the baptism of war and killed countless enemies, it was still difficult for her to treat these refugees and enemies equally. After all, these were the people of the land of water, and they were compatriots. After noticing that there were a few half-grown children among the refugees who cast their eager eyes, she made up her mind, jumped off the ice wall immediately, and walked slowly towards the leader of the caravan behind. At the same time, after noticing the abnormality of Terumi, Nana Shuang on the ice wall had a bad feeling in her heart. She followed immediately. Seeing the 2 Mist Ninjas disappear on the ice wall, the refugees stopped begging, but did not take any further action. They knew that their request had worked. The soft-hearted pretty girl began to waver, and they just needed to wait quietly for the result. Boss, I have something to discuss with you." Terumi Mei stammered to the caravan leader. "Sir, please." The caravan leader wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and replied carefully. At this moment, he had a bad feeling in his heart. Terumi Mei looked around at the trucks around and said seriously, look, your caravan brought so many. Do you know what you are talking about, Ming? At this moment, a slightly stern and familiar voice interrupted her. It was Qishuang who rushed up from behind, grabbed the girl's shoulders, and then took her away from the camp in an instant. Terumi Mei's temporary departure also made the caravan leader secretly relieved. Although the other party did not finish his words, he had already guessed what was going on. It was also fortunate that the two Miss Ninjas disagreed, otherwise, he would have to lose money tonight. What are you doing? As soon as she landed, Terumi broke free from the boy's control, her tone full of displeasure. I should be the one asking you this. With the help of the faint starlight, Qishuang looked at the girl solemnly and asked loudly, what are you doing, Ming? Terumi replied angrily, I just want to discuss with the boss and ask him to take out some melons and distribute them to these poor people. Is there anything wrong with that? Don't you see how pitiful they are? Some of them are just children. It was the eager eyes of those children that completely broke her defenses. She bit the bullet and wanted to discuss with the leader of the caravan and ask him to give some melons to the refugees. Have you forgotten what your duty is? Qishuang frowned and said coldly, the first rule of a ninja is to complete the mission first. And our current mission is to escort the caravan to the hidden mist village and ensure the safety of their goods and people. Now, you ask the caravan to donate melons. Do you know that you are helping outsiders and damaging the interests of the client? It is completely contrary to our code of conduct. Hearing this resounding statement, Terumi Mei softened immediately and said weakly, I just want to help them. There are so many melons in the caravan. A lot. Qishuang sneered and then said, so what if there are more melons? Please remember, they are not our things, they belong to others. You shouldn't take other people's things to satisfy your ridiculous kindness. Hearing this, the girl suddenly raised her head and defended loudly, I didn't force them. Am I not discussing it with the boss? Discuss? Qishuang shook her head and asked back, with your identity, you personally discuss it with him. Dare he disagree? Is this also called discussion? Let's take a step back and say, what if he really refuses? Can you guarantee that you won't use force to rob me? This chapter is full of hidden goods. Chapter 202 Confusion. Forced to retreat again and again by his series of questions, Terumi was speechless. Those pairs of eager eyes remained in her heart, waiting for her response. She knew clearly that, if she was rejected, she would definitely use force to snatch the melons and distribute them to those poor refugees. Seeing her wavering, Qishuang continued, do you know that by doing this, you will not only fail to save them, but will kill them? How is it possible? Terumi looked at the blurred boy in the night in surprise and exclaimed, melons can temporarily fill their stomachs and prevent them from starving to death. How can it harm them? Because they will be killed by me. Qishuang replied in a grim tone. Hearing this, Terumi was suddenly shocked and said in disbelief, no. Why did you attack them? They didn't do anything out of the ordinary. That's just because of the presence of the two of us. They didn't dare to do anything out of the ordinary. Qishuang sneered and asked back, you don't think they are really just a group of ordinary refugees? Isn't it? Some of them are children. The girl said in doubt. Those skinny ragged guys were just a group of beggars who didn't threaten them at all. She really couldn't see what else was special about that group of people. Qishuang said meaningfully, if they were really a group of ordinary refugees, why didn't they come during the day, but instead chose such a time that was suitable for a sneak attack to come and beg? Seeing that the girl didn't say anything, he continued, because they had planned to rob from the beginning. It's just that they had to give up the plan because they ran into us. If it weren't for the two of us, with the few guards of the caravan, they couldn't stop them at all. I don't know how much of the 10 carts of goods would be left. They are a group of refugees who can turn into robbers at any time. At this moment, he labeled the refugees as robbers. But, haven't they robbed yet? You can't do that to them. Terumi Mei still tried her best to defend. I just need to convince the boss to give out a little melon, and they will leave immediately. She added. Naive. Qishuang sighed and said, have you ever thought that with your help, they easily got enough food from the caravan, would they still be willing to leave? Let's take a step back. Even if they really leave and spread your kindness, it will inevitably attract other refugees to beg at your door. Will you give them food or not? The girl was stunned again. She didn't think too much at first. She just wanted to help the poor people in front of her quickly and didn't think about what would happen later. The situation described by Qishuang at the moment undoubtedly hit her sore spot. The goods of the caravan are limited after all. Qishuang shook her head and continued, if they keep following and want to use your relationship to continue begging from the caravan or attract other refugees to beg, the goods of the caravan will soon be consumed. In order to protect the interests of the client, I will definitely kill them. Sensing the murderous intent in his words, Terumi Mei immediately took 2 steps back in fear. How could it be? She still didn't want to believe what Qishuang had speculated, but she was powerless to refute it. The journey of escorting the caravan had just begun, and there were still several days to go. There was no doubt that this would not be the first wave of refugees she encountered. If, according to her kindness, she was afraid that the goods of the caravan would be almost gone before reaching the hidden mist village. Seeing her depressed, Qishuang continued, you only see their pity, but you can't see the pity of the caravan. Because of your willfulness, they are likely to lose a lot of goods, causing incalculable losses. They also have families to support, and these guards also need them to pay for their livelihoods. If they lose these goods, how can they support their families, and where will the wages of these guards come from? Giving arms to refugees will certainly satisfy your temporary goodwill, but it will hurt these innocent people in the caravan. You are too selfish. Hearing this, Terumi Mei covered her heart and asked painfully, should we turn a blind eye to those poor people? Wake up. Qishuang sighed heavily and said helplessly, you and I are just mortals, not gods. We don't have the power to save everything. We can only save what we can. But Terumi Mei still didn't want to give up. Because every time she wanted to give up, those pairs of eager young eyes would always appear in her heart. Those poor children were waiting for her rescue. Even if you saved them today, what would happen? Qishuang shook her head and continued, it's just a temporary solution. They fill today's food, but there is no tomorrow. They are still a group of homeless refugees, and they still live a life of hunger. Besides, because of the war and civil unrest in recent years, the entire water country is in turmoil, and there are countless people who have lost their homes and are wandering. What we encountered today is just a tiny bit. For the refugees of the entire water country, it is just a drop in the bucket, or even not even a drop in the bucket. If the situation of the entire water country is not completely changed, situations like this will only continue to occur, and will not be improved at all. Everything you do now can only be meaningless. So, please don't be willful anymore. After hearing his words, Terumi Mei said painfully, it is not easy to change the situation in the water country. It is not a matter of a day or a night. Before that, how many poor refugees will fall on the land of the water country? Qishuang continued to comfort her. I've said before, we are not gods. We don't have omnipotent power. We can't save everyone. We can only save those within our power. If we can sacrifice now to achieve long-term peace in the future, what's the harm? The young man's faint voice fell into her ears, completely shattering the eager eyes in Terumi Mei's heart. After all, she was not a silly girl who didn't understand anything, so she naturally knew how to make a choice. It's up to you. I don't want to care about this matter. After saying this, the girl waved her hand weakly, turned around and walked towards the camp in disappointment. Qishuang's words and the situation in front of her had a great impact on her. She wanted to change this corrupt situation, put an end to the situation she saw today, and let everyone live a stable life. But when she carefully examined the situation of the entire water country, she found that the problems existing in the entire water country were far more than that. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Scared Away. Compared with the tragic chaos in the Land of Water, the most serious problem is the Hidden Mist Village. Companions fight each other and kill each other to make their way. The entire Hidden Mist Village is in this deformed state of existence. If it were just that, it would be fine, but killing will breed hatred. And hatred is the fuse of everything. Hatred will trigger killing again, killing will create hatred, and so on and so forth. Killing will never stop, hatred will never stop. The land of water has therefore buried the hidden danger of turmoil. It is also the root of all problems. But facing the huge hidden mist village, her power alone is too small. She can't do anything at all. As Qishuang said before, she is just a mortal, without the power of gods, and can't change anything. She wanted to cry, but she couldn't. She just felt that her heart was blocked and very uncomfortable. Looking at the lost back of the girl disappearing in the night, Qishuang didn't know what to say. The so-called growth is to abandon innocence. Look at the world with a more objective and realistic attitude. Take in light and darkness, and treat them equally. When he returned to the camp again, the leader of the caravan came over and asked cautiously, "Sir, how do you think we should deal with tonight's incident?" Looking at the ice wall outside the camp, Qishuang said nonchalantly, "We are only responsible for escorting, and will not interfere with the caravan's decision. If you are willing to give arms, that's naturally a good thing. If you are not willing to give arms, it has nothing to do with us." As he said that, he turned his head and looked deeply at the man next to him. "Now, it's your turn to make a decision," he said expressionlessly. Then, the leader of the caravan looked at the ice wall and then at the young man in front of him, hesitating. Logically speaking, he felt sorry for those people, but the goods on his car were not blown by the wind. He was really unwilling to give them to others. Moreover, a shrewd person like him who has been in the business world for many years is naturally not comparable to the naive girl before. Of course, he understands that once a precedent of giving arms is set, countless refugees will be attracted later. 10 carts of goods seem to be a lot, but they can't withstand the endless begging of refugees. But he didn't dare to speak rashly, because of the soft-hearted Miss Ninja girl. Fortunately, the Miss Ninja boy in front of him seemed more rational, and he didn't want him to give arms to the refugees like the Miss Ninja girl did. Thinking of this, he felt a little more comforted. In the end, the boy's expression, like an unmelting glacier, was like a shot of cardiac stimulant that hit his heart and made him make a decision. "Please, please, please send those guys away," the caravan leader said timidly. "Okay, I got it." Qishuang nodded and walked straight to the ice wall, which made the caravan leader, who was worried, completely put down the big stone in his heart. The Miss Ninja was not angry, because he refused to give arms. Outside the ice wall, when they saw the young Miss Ninja boy appear again, the refugees could not wait to shout loudly, "Sir, please give us some food. Please." Looking down from above, looking at the people below, Qishuang sighed softly and said loudly, "I'll give you 30 seconds to leave. After 30 seconds, I will kill everyone present." Hearing this, how could the people still not understand that the caravan rejected their begging, and the crowd was in chaos again? Someone thought of the kind-hearted Miss Ninja girl before, and immediately plucked up the courage and shouted loudly, "We want to see the kind-hearted Miss Ninja just now. We don't believe what you said." "Yes, we want to see the kind-hearted sir just now." Someone followed and echoed. At this moment, they were hungry, and seemed to have grasped the last straw. As long as they could force the naive Miss Ninja girl to show up, they could avoid the threat of this ruthless boy and hope to share some supplies from the caravan. "We want to see that adult. We don't want to listen to you." The voices of the crowd rose and fell, turning into a torrent, and spreading in all directions. Hiding in the carriage, Meditarumi heard the call, bit her lips tightly, and kept convincing herself in her heart, "I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it." The fingers were tightly clasped on the railing of the carriage, and she didn't even notice the blood oozing out of the nails. She didn't dare to leave the carriage. She was afraid that, if she left this cage, she would not be able to help but agree to the pleas of those people, because that would only lead to unpredictable consequences. Silence is the most suitable choice for her, and it is also the most helpless choice. On this night, she has never thought about her life so clearly. She wants to do something for the land of water and the hidden mist village. Instead of forcing herself to stay in this small carriage like tonight, unable to do anything, and not hearing anything. She doesn't want to be like this. On the ice wall, the noisy voices of the refugees made Qishuang feel annoyed. Chakra came out of his body and condensed into several 3-foot-long ice cones, floating beside him. "Shut up," he shouted, controlling the ice cones beside him to smash the crowd. Bang, bang, bang. Under his conscious control, the ice cones brushed the bodies of several refugees and shot to the ground. White frost froze on the ground. Faced with this sudden attack, everyone was completely panicked. All they relied on was the kindness of the Mist Ninja girl, hoping to use it to hold the Mist Ninja boy hostage. But this guy didn't play by the rules at all, without a trace of pity, and directly attacked them. Their fantasy was completely shattered. At this moment, they finally realized clearly that they were facing a ninja from the Mist Village, a ninja village known for its ruthless killing. They were a group of unarmed people and had no qualifications to negotiate with him. Especially the unlucky ones who were brushed by the ice cones. Although they were not seriously injured, they were frightened. The ice cones brushed past them and cut their skin, and an extremely cold breath penetrated their hearts. In an instant, their hands and feet were cold, as if they had stepped into the legendary world of death. They felt that they were not far from death. Run. The Kirigakure ninja is going to kill people. Some people squeezed to the back in fear, hoping to escape from this dangerous place as soon as possible. This scream seemed to completely detonate the fear of everyone. A shadow of death enveloped everyone's heart. Run. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Help, I don't want to die yet. Amidst the terrified shouts, the refugees disappeared into the night in a panic. If you don't accept the toast, you will be punished. Seeing this, Qishuang shook his head helplessly and then snapped his fingers to cancel the spell. The ice wall under his feet slowly collapsed and completely dissipated into the air. Don't bother me. Just do your own thing. Qishuang glanced at the caravan leader who was running over and scolded him without any politeness. The other party had a happy face, obviously coming to compliment him. It was just to scare off a group of refugees. He really didn't think there was any honor, or rather, it was more like a shame. As a ninja, he was competing with a group of ordinary people. If he told others, he really couldn't afford to be embarrassed. Chapter 204 Beginning. Hearing his shout, the caravan leader who was about to come up to congratulate with joy stopped immediately. Although he didn't know what the young Mist Ninja was thinking, he thought it would be better not to disturb him. Because the other party's face didn't look very good, he didn't want to make himself unhappy and troubled. Then, he turned around and walked towards the guards on the other side. Everyone, you have worked hard tonight. Hard work. He smiled and thanked everyone. Even though this group of guards was not the main force to solve the emergency tonight, he still did not hesitate to express his gratitude. After all, he couldn't rely on the two ninjas to do everything. This group of guards is also an indispensable part of the caravan. Ignoring the caravan leader who thanked the guards, Qishuang slowly walked towards the truck in the corner of the camp under the admiring eyes of the guards. The one where they rested before. When he returned to the camp, he didn't see the figure of Meditarumi, and he was a little worried. He leaned in and saw a girl curled up in the car with her knees hugged. Sensing someone approaching, Meditarumi looked up and saw that it was Qishuang who had returned. Seeing the familiar face, she whispered, "Did you kill anyone?" Just now, she heard the frightened shouts of the refugees. "No, I just scared them," Qishuang replied calmly. "Oh." The girl responded and lowered her head again. She finally felt better. "Come out and eat something," Qishuang asked tentatively. "I'm not hungry," Meditarumi replied dejectedly, but her stomach growled twice, and she couldn't help but blush. They had only tasted a few bites of venison before being disturbed by the refugees, and they didn't have time to eat enough. At this moment, their stomachs were still empty. "I think you should stop being so stubborn and come out to eat something. Torturing your stomach won't solve the problem." Hearing the strange cry, Qishuang couldn't help but smile. "You goo." Seeing the boy's mockery, Meditarumi was furious and was about to explode, but she didn't expect her stomach to growl again. She bit her lip, thought for a while, and finally chose to compromise with her stomach and reluctantly left the car. Sitting by the campfire, Meditarumi absent-mindedly tore the venison on the plate and asked the boy in a low voice, "I heard that the survival rules in the 4 major ninja villages on the continent are completely different from ours. They don't need to kill their compatriots, they just need to pass normal exams to prove their abilities. Everyone gets along very harmoniously, which is completely different from the situation in our Kirigakure, where everyone is in danger and wary of each other. Really? Qishuang took the venison skewered on a branch back from the campfire, peeled it off the plate, and nodded gently. Yes. He roasted the venison again. Because of the previous delay, the venison was a little cold. He prefers to eat hot. That's great. The girl sighed sincerely. In the past, she was always proud of her Kirigakure origin. Now, for the first time, she had the idea of envying other villages. She also vaguely understood why there was a reformist faction in the Hidden Mist village that attempted a coup. Why did those people want to change the status quo of the Hidden Mist village? It was not just because they were dissatisfied with the system of the Hidden Mist village, but also because they wanted to pull the Hidden Mist village out of the cycle of killing and hatred through reform. Create a new future. Is there any way to promote the reform of the Hidden Mist village and change the current situation? The girl asked in a low voice. Hearing this, Qishuang immediately put down the venison in her hand, hurriedly glanced around, and found that no one was eavesdropping around, so she breathed a sigh of relief. Do you know what you just said, Ming? Qishuang looked at her solemnly. Right now, the Hidden Mist village is vigorously clearing out the rebels. If you are not careful, you will be included in the ranks of the rebels. If Meditarumi's words of chaos were known by the Anbu, the consequences would be disastrous. I know what I'm talking about. I'm more sober now than ever. Meditarumi stared at the boy's eyes and said solemnly, that's why I want to ask you, how can we break the current situation, promote reform, and let the people of Kirigakure live like other villages? Seeing this, Qishuang sighed, avoiding the girl's expectant eyes, looking at the sparse starry sky, feeling very complicated. After all, Ming still embarked on the road of reform, just like the story he knew. But he didn't know whether this was the so-called fat inertia or Ming's own choice. But in any case, he would do his best to help Ming, as long as she was happy. After thinking for a moment, he slowly replied, the reformists have failed repeatedly, not only because they are not as strong as the conservatives, but also because of the wrong methods. They didn't find the right way and entry point. Hurry, tell me. Finally, when he opened his mouth, Meditarumi was overjoyed and asked hurriedly. She knew she had found the right person. Stirring the bonfire in front of him, Qishuang continued, the rules of the Hidden Mist village were established by the first generation, and it has been nearly 100 years since then. The conservatives have accumulated for such a long time, how can they be overturned in a short time? We need to boil the frog in warm water, step by step. It's not impossible to use strong medicine to cure a serious illness, but the medicine must be strong enough. How strong should it be? Meditarumi asked impatiently. When the reformists are stronger than the conservatives, it is a strong medicine. Qishuang said expressionlessly. Medicines are 3-point poisonous, so when doctors prescribe medicines for people, they will consider the toxic side effects of the medicine itself, and prepare the medicine appropriately. The so-called using strong medicine to cure a serious illness means ignoring the side effects of the medicine, using powerful medicines, and using extremely rough means to treat the disease. However, in this way, although the disease is cured, the medicine itself will bring certain side effects to the patient. The so-called strong medicine is to achieve the goal through a coup by force. But as a result, even if the conservatives are killed, the Hidden Mist village will fall into a weak state for a long time. It's the same as if you didn't say anything. Meditarumi rolled her eyes at him. The reformists were far weaker than the current conservatives, and she knew that. Otherwise, the rebellion of the two bloodline limit families would not have ended in failure. So, gradual progress is the safest way to reform. After stuffing a piece of venison into her mouth, chewing it a few times, and swallowing it with difficulty, Nanashi continued, in the process of reform, there are two key figures who can control the situation in the general direction, and prevent the reformists and conservatives from completely falling out. Even if the reform is blocked, it can be carried out slowly. Who are they? Meditarumi asked curiously. The daimyo and the Mizukage. Nanashi solemnly pointed out the two key figures to the girl. Chapter 205 Key. Oh, right. When the young man mentioned these two people, Meditarumi's eyes lit up, as if she saw a ray of hope. The daimyo is the king of a country and has the highest honor in the land of water, and the Mizukage is the head of a village and has the highest power in the hidden mist village. These two people are extremely important to the land of water. If they can mediate, the reform of the hidden mist village will not be so difficult. It's a pity that the reform faction is too impatient. Qishuang sighed and said helplessly, originally, they were more obedient and just made some verbal noises and made some small moves. For the stability of the village and the country, the Mizukage and the daimyo would turn a blind eye. They won't deliberately favor any side. But they used force to stage a coup, which shook the rule of the hidden mist village and created chaos in the water kingdom. This was tantamount to pushing the Mizukage and the daimyo to the conservatives, cutting themselves off from others and seeking their own death. As a result, as you see now, the Mizukage has completely hardened his mind and is determined to wipe out the rebels, resulting in almost no room for survival for the reformists in the hidden mist village. Is there any way to change their current predicament? Terumi asked expectantly. No. Qishuang shook her head and sighed. If you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. The reformists resorted to force, causing turmoil in Kirigakure and the land of water, but they have not succeeded. In the current situation, it is difficult for both Kirigakure's top leaders and the people of Kirigakure to support them. It is impossible for them to do anything in the short term. We must wait until this matter is completely over before we have a chance to make a comeback. At this time, the reformists are like rats crossing the street, and everyone is shouting and beating them. Even self-protection has become a problem. It is impossible for them to take any action in the short term. Wait for this matter to be over? When will we wait? Terumi asked worriedly. Wait until the current daimyo and Mizukage abdicate. Qishuang sighed. What? Hearing him say this, the girl screamed, attracting curious glances from the guards around her. Shh. Seeing this, Qishuang quickly made a gesture to silence her and reminded her, speak a little quieter. Oh. The girl stuck out her tongue. Seeing that the two ninja masters had no intention of greeting them, the many guards who were awakened closed their eyes again and leaned against the truck to continue resting. Nanashiro continued in a low voice, the reformists have gone too far this time. Both the Mizukage and the daimyo have labeled them as rebels in their hearts. As long as the current Mizukage and daimyo are in power, they will have almost no room to make a breakthrough. Can't they regain the trust of the daimyo and Mizukage? Terumi muttered in a low voice. Difficult, difficult, difficult. Qishuang shook her head gently and sighed. This time, their armed coup is to overthrow the rule of the third generation, and the spearhead is directly aimed at the third generation. No matter how generous the third generation is, he will not let them go. Although the daimyo has been less affected, and it is easier to regain his trust, the daimyo does not have any real power, and it is difficult for him to interfere with the decision making of the hidden mist village. In this case, even if they regain the daimyo's trust, it will be difficult to change their situation. The key is still with the Mizukage, and there is no way around it. Although the Mizukage is nominally shorter than the daimyo, the Mizukage has the greatest real power. In the case of offending the third generation, it is a drop in the bucket for the reformists to gain the daimyo's trust. What should we do? Do we really have to wait for the third generation to abdicate? How long do we have to wait? The pretty little face of Terumi wrinkled into a bitter grin. Waiting for the third generation to abdicate. God knows how long it will take. You don't have to worry about that. Qishuang replied with a smile. Huh. Seeing him say that, Terumi was confused. Looking at the faint stars above her head, Qishuang said slowly, except for the old stubborn man in Iwagakure, the fourth Kazakage of Sanjakure has taken office, the fourth Reikage of Kumogakure has been selected, and the third Hokage of Konoha is also preparing to abdicate. Among the 5 major villages, 3 have already, or are preparing to replace their next leaders. And our third Mizukage is not young anymore, and it is estimated that the time for him to give up his position will soon. Judging from the current situation, the fourth Mizukage, Yagura Karatachi, will take office at about this time. The change of Mizukage is just around the corner. Hearing this, Terumi thought for a moment, pinched her chin and asked, you said, what would happen if the reformists ascended to the position of Mizukage? Turning back and looking into the girl's eyes, Nanashiro replied very calmly, just as you think in your heart. Even if reform will be difficult, it will be much easier with the title of Mizukage than an armed coup. However, given the current situation of the reformists, it is difficult for them to protect themselves, so how can they have the energy to fight for the position of Mizukage? Hearing this, the girl was like an eggplant hit by frost, and she immediately shrank. The idea is good, but it is difficult to implement in practice. Instead of holding on to such an unrealistic idea of fighting for the position of Mizukage, it is better to think about how to build a good relationship with the new Mizukage. Qishuang continued. I still remember that the fourth Mizukage was not very old and was still a child when he ascended to the position. Naturally, it is easier to fool than the third Mizukage, an old fox who has been in charge of the Hidden Mist village for many years. Starting with him, the reformists are not completely hopeless. However, since Yagura has not yet ascended to the throne, he naturally cannot say these words, and he can only bury them in his heart. Is that so? Well, it's a good idea. Terumi nodded happily. However, there is one more thing to pay attention to. Qishuang thought for a while and said, "What?" The girl asked in surprise. It doesn't matter if the reformists can't become the Mizukage, but we must not let the conservatives take the position of Mizukage. Otherwise, during the reign of the next Mizukage, the reformists will still have no chance to come forward. Qishuang said solemnly. Judging from Yagura's age, he has little experience and should have no connection with either faction. He is a neutral person, which is a good thing for the reformists. But the story of the previous life is a story after all. He is not sure whether Yagura can ascend to the position of Mizukage in this life. Therefore, if the reformists want to make a comeback, they must prevent the conservatives from getting involved in the position of Mizukage. Well, you are right. We must not let the conservatives ascend to the position of Mizukage. The girl nodded seriously. Anything else? She asked again. Yes, of course, but it's too late today. We can talk later. I want to sleep. Qishuang stood up slowly, stretched, yawned, and rubbed his legs. His legs were numb after sitting for so long. Seeing that he didn't want to talk anymore, Terumi had no choice but to roll her eyes angrily. Then, Qishuang asked for 2 blankets from the caravan, one for herself and one for Terumi. The two found a suitable position by the campfire and fell asleep. Chapter 206 Grand Event. When Qishuang and the others escorted the caravan to the Hidden Mist village, it was exactly the 7th day of the journey. It was almost the same time as Qishuang's earlier estimate. Along the way, in addition to the refugees they encountered on the first night, they encountered 3 more waves one after another. Fortunately, with the 2 ninjas in charge, the refugees did not dare to act recklessly despite the large number of them. They were easily scared away. In addition to the refugees, they also encountered a wave of robbers. As a result, they were easily killed by the 2. As for the malicious wandering ninjas and rebellious ninjas, they did not encounter any of them. It should be that the goods of the caravan were not enough to arouse their interest. After all, most of the goods in these 10 carts were just some fruits, and it was useless for ninjas to rob them. If they were after money, they might as well go after the caravans carrying precious goods. After passing the checkpoint of the Hidden Mist village, the leader of the caravan gave a few more instructions to his subordinates, and the caravan found a street and slowly left, while he stayed behind. I think they should have prepared a contact person in the Hidden Mist village. Don't we need to continue the escort? Qishuang asked the leader of the caravan tentatively. Thank you, my lords, but it's not necessary. The leader of the caravan waved his hand, and then took out a thick stack of banknotes from his pocket, handed it over, and said gratefully, "This is the reward for the 2 lords." After taking the banknotes, Qishuang flipped through them casually, listening to the rustling sound of the papers, and roughly judged that the stack of money in his hand was about 20,000 taels. This was exactly the reward promised by the caravan when issuing the commission. Although the amount was not large, the task itself was not dangerous, and it was only at the sea level. The most troublesome enemies were just a few ordinary robbers. The price of 20,000 taels was very consistent with the level of this task. Although the reward was not particularly generous, there were only him and Terumi in the team at the moment. The average amount per person was 10,000 taels, which was not bad. In that case, we won't bother you anymore, and we'll go back to report. Qishuang said calmly, putting the money into his pocket. Goodbye, my lords. Then, with the respectful farewell of the caravan leader, Qishuang and the others disappeared on the street. Do you feel like something has happened in the village? Everyone feels weird. Walking on the street, Terumi Mei looked at the pedestrians carefully and said in a low voice, yeah, I feel the same way. Qishuang nodded, avoiding a child who ran towards him, and continued, it feels like a festival, it's a lot more lively. He clearly felt that the popularity of the streets, which had always been deserted, had increased a lot. However, he clearly remembered that there had been no festivals in Kirigakure recently. Could this be the Kirigakure event that the caravan leader had mentioned before? He suddenly remembered that when he met the caravan leader, the other party had said that Kirigakure was about to hold a grand event, so they thought of transporting fruits all the way to Kirigakure to make a fortune. I'm afraid that's it. Terumi, who was following beside her, nodded and continued, there are obviously more merchants coming and going at the entrance of the village. Those profit-seeking guys would flock to the village like sharks smelling blood whenever they heard the slightest rumor of making money. However, she didn't remember any important events in the Hidden Mist village in the near future. At this time, a patrolling team of mist ninjas came to the corner of the street. Let's ask them. Nanashi made a gesture to the girl next to her and then went straight to them. Hey, guys. He stopped the patrol team with a smile on his face. What's the matter? The leader asked expressionlessly. Qishuang pointed around and asked with a smile, we just came back from a mission, and I feel that the village is much more lively. What happened? Just came back? The leading mist ninja looked at the two dusty people, showing a look of sudden enlightenment, and slowly said, 9 days ago, the Mizukage issued a notice. The Kirigakure village will hold a Mizukage competition at the end of the year. Anyone who aspires to the position of Mizukage can participate. Those businessmen are just here to join in the fun. After saying that, he glanced at the crowd on the street with great annoyance. This group of mortals dared to join in the fun at the grand gathering of ninjas, which really made him very unhappy. Because since the Mizukage issued the notice, the flow of people in the Kirigakure village has obviously increased a lot. More people means that the probability of increasing various troubles is also increasing. This is indeed the case. In the past 3 days alone, he has dealt with 10 conflicts. The workload has obviously doubled. If it weren't for the clear rule in the Kirigakure that ordinary people cannot be attacked at will, he would have chopped those bastards who created trouble and increased his workload into pieces long ago. 9 days ago. Wasn't that the day after we left the village? Terumi Mei screamed. At that time, they were on their way to meet up with the client, so it's no wonder that they didn't hear about this. These businessmen are really well informed. Nanashin smiled bitterly and shook his head. The third generation must have decided to hold the battle before the announcement was issued. He didn't know how many days earlier. But one thing is certain, the time of their previous escort mission must have been before the third generation's announcement and later than the time when the third generation decided to fight. In other words, this group of businessmen heard about the battle for the Mizukage earlier than most of their Kirigakure ninjas. This shows how well informed they are. I'm afraid that it must be those family forces that knew about the battle for the Mizukage in advance and accidentally leaked the news during the preparation process. Otherwise, the leader of the previous caravan would not have only heard the general idea, but not the specific event. At this moment, a young man hurried over from the corner of the street. Report. Report to the adults. There is a fight on the street over there. The man shouted to the patrol team breathlessly. Upon hearing this, the captain of the patrol team frowned and spat. What a trouble. Since you all have something else to do, we won't bother you. Qishuang hurriedly made way. Seeing this, the leader of the patrol team, the Miss Ninja, nodded slightly and then shouted at the man. Lead the way. Yes, yes, yes. Please follow me, sir. Then, led by the young man, the patrol team quickly disappeared from the corner of the street. The battle for the Mizukage is about to begin, but I don't know how many people will die this time. Qishuang sighed. This selection system that respects force seems fair and can select a leader that everyone has to obey, but the price is very heavy. After all, those who are qualified to participate in this kind of battle are at least elite jonin, and every death is a huge loss. Especially now, the Hidden Mist Village, which just ended the war, has been severely damaged. The loss of this selection of Mizukage is likely to be enough to make the top leaders feel painful for a long time. Chapter 207 will begin. Such a big thing, I don't know what the clan thinks. I have to go back and ask, said Meditarumi, who was beside her, pinching her chin. The battlefield of the battle for the Mizukage is also a wrestling field for the major family forces. The Tarumi clan, where she belongs, is also one of the most powerful bloodline limit families in the Hidden Mist Village. Such a grand event should not be without them. Seeing that she was about to leave, Qishuang solemnly reminded her, right now, the situation in the Hidden Mist Village is serious, and everyone is in danger. There are some things that you and I can say between us, but it does not mean that we can say them to others. Remember. Now, the Reform faction has disappeared. At least, from the surface, the Reform faction has disappeared, and the remaining ones are all conservative factions with clear flags. However, no one knows how many of them are reformists in conservative skin. Even Meditarumi herself can't figure out which faction the clan belongs to. At this juncture, rashly bringing up such a topic will only cause unnecessary trouble. Yes, I know. The girl nodded, and then turned to another street. That was the direction of home. As for escorting the commissioned report, Qishuang alone was enough. 3 months was neither long nor short, and December came in a blink of an eye. As the battle for the Mizukage approached, more and more people poured into the Kirigakure village, including merchants, pedestrians, and even many unfamiliar ninjas who dared to sneak in. The originally deserted Kirigakure village became much more lively. Qishuang even suspected that, if it were not for the vast ocean blocking the way, the inconvenient transportation, and the bad reputation of the Kirigakure village, there would probably be more people coming to join in the fun. After all, there was only one such interesting way of succession to the Mizukage in the entire ninja world, the Kirigakure village. Once you miss it, you don't know when the next time will be. The sharp increase in the flow of people also led to a swarm of speculative merchants. During this period, the team of Qishuang and 2 people received nearly 10 similar escort missions. However, as the number of speculative merchants increased, the number of robbers who regarded merchants as fat sheep also gradually increased. With the influx of a large number of foreign population, Kirigakure needs more manpower to maintain public order, and on the other hand, it is busy preparing for the battle for the Mizukage. Even the manpower to arrange escorts for various business travelers is very tight. There is no extra manpower to clear out the rampant banditry. However, sometimes Qishuang can't help but maliciously speculate whether Kirigakure's top leaders are nurturing the enemy for their own benefit, deliberately letting the banditry go, indirectly putting pressure on various business travelers, forcing them to come to Kirigakure to issue escort commissions, so as to take advantage of the situation to make a fortune. After all, Kirigakure has received a lot of escort commissions during this period. Although it is not clear how much money has been made, it is thought that the number of mission commissions in the past 3 months should be enough for more than half a year. That's the battlefield of this battle for the Mizukage. On the roof, Meditarumi pointed to a huge ruin near the entrance of the village and said, "That was the trace left by the last rebellion of the 2 major bloodline limit families, and it has not been cleaned up yet. Now, it is used as a battlefield again. I heard that even the residents within 100 meters of the battlefield were temporarily relocated." The girl added, "They really put in the effort." Looking at the huge ruins, Qishuang was full of emotion. Originally, the ruins covered about 1/10 of Kirigakure. In terms of area, it was enough for everyone to toss. After all, the total number of people in this battle was only about 2,000. But this time, there happened to be a Yagura from Kujira. If he remembered correctly, Yagura was one of the perfect Jinkriki in the entire ninja world. If the opponent used the complete tailed beast transformation during the battle for the Mizukage, I'm afraid that the small battlefield would not be enough to destroy. You know, the 9 tails in the difficulty of the beast easily destroyed nearly a quarter of Konoha. Although the scale of their Kirigakure is smaller than that, it is also of the same level. It should not be a problem for Yagura, who has completely transformed into a tailed beast, to destroy a quarter of Kirigakure. The guys above underestimated the combat power of the perfect Jinkriki. Or, the news that Yagura had become the perfect Jinkriki was controlled, and few people knew about it. This led to such a mistake when the higher-ups arranged the battlefield. Yeah. Terumi Mei also sighed. Huh. When did you have the leisure to keep a pet? She pointed at the ball of Snow White in the boy's arms and asked. Earlier, she thought that the other party was not feeling well and wrapped in a blanket in his arms. Just now, she glanced inadvertently and saw the red eyes on the blanket. She realized that it was a white rabbit. After that, she stretched out her little hand to tease it, but found that the rabbit was nestled in Nana Shuang's arms and did not move. If she hadn't felt the temperature from her hand personally, she would have almost thought it was a wooden sculpture. Is it dead? Terumi Mei asked in surprise. No. Qishuang shook his head slightly, then pulled out a hand, gently tapped the rabbit's head, and whispered, I just experimented with a technique on it, so it became like this. With a finger, the originally motionless rabbit regained vitality and struggled in his arms. Technique? What technique? Terumi Mei asked curiously, rescuing the rabbit from Qishuang's arms. It's still in the experimental stage. It doesn't work when it fails. There's no point in talking about it. Let's talk about it later. Qishuang shook his head, not wanting to reveal too much. Any technique needs to go through countless experiments and improvements before it can be truly released. Some techniques even require a lot of lives to explore. For example, the immortal reincarnation in Orochimaru's hands. In order to practice and perfect that technique, he consumed countless lives. The technique that Qishuang is experimenting with is also an extremely dangerous technique. The rabbit that Terumi Mei just handed over is already the 31st in his experiment. As for the first 30, without exception, they all died during his experiment and became his rabbit meat feast. Although it is a bit excessive to use people for experiments and skin them and eat their meat, it is shameful to waste them. Besides, he also bought these rabbits with his hard-earned money. If they died in the experiment and were thrown away, wouldn't it be a pity? Making the best use of things is his life principle. Forget it. Terumi stared at the Snow White rabbit in her arms and said nonchalantly, for such a cute, fluffy little guy, few girls would refuse. She was no exception. I still have a lot of rabbit meat at home. Do you want to take some back to try? Looking at the girl teasing the rabbit, Qishuang asked tentatively. A full 30 rabbits, even if he eats them every day, he can't stand it. At this moment, he has only eaten a small half, and there are nearly 20 slaughtered rabbits at home. The refrigerator can't fit in, so he has to seal it up with ice escape. Okay, I'll get some from you later. Terumi replied nonchalantly. Playing with rabbits and eating rabbit meat are two different things. She likes these cute little guys, but this cannot be an obstacle for her to eat rabbit meat. I watched the world's granary last night and felt it was very good. The 2002 drama is not inferior to the current dramas at all. If you haven't seen it, you can go and watch it. Chapter 208 Beast Transformation. Inside the heart of the Kizuna clan leader smiled with satisfaction as he watched the young man freely switching between 4 ninja swords in the courtyard. His son, Kizuna Maingetsu, seemed to be born for swords. 4 ninja swords with different functions were wielded freely in Maingetsu's hands without any delay, just like an elf in a sword. Since the 4 ninja swords were taken back to Kirigakure, the Kizuna clan took advantage of their unique authority to take the 4 ninja swords. They called it safekeeping. There was nothing others could do if they disagreed. Their Kizuna clan was in charge of the summoning contracts of the 7 ninja swords. With just a summoning, any unowned ninja swords would return to their Kizuna clan. They wanted to stop him, but they couldn't. Maingetsu, who had stopped practicing, put the ninja swords into the summoning scroll and then put them in his pocket. He walked over slowly and saluted the Kizuna clan leader next to him. Father, how was the practice? The Kizuna clan leader nodded and asked with a smile. Very good, better than ever. Maingetsu replied confidently. Then I'm relieved. Patting his son on the shoulder, the head of the Hazuki clan continued. The war is about to begin. I have selected 100 elites from the clan, and I have told them that once the war begins, they should do their best to hold back Yagura and other competitors to buy time for you. As for the Ziguishan Puffer demon, you can only rely on yourself. Speaking of Yagura, Manu seemed to remember something and asked solemnly, has the clan found anything about the three-tailed Jinchuriki? With 4 ninja swords in hand, there are really few people in the Hidden Mist village that he can take seriously. Yagura is one of them. Although he has only heard of his name, but never seen him. But the reputation of the Jinchuriki war weapon is too big after all, and coupled with the intention of the 3rd generation to recommend him, it is really difficult for Manu to ignore him. I can't figure it out. The head of the Hazuki clan shook his head and said seriously, I have deliberately sent people to infiltrate and test, but I can't figure out what the man is like. I can only barely feel that the man has a strong control over the power of the tailed beast. Preliminary estimation, he should be able to achieve the 2nd stage of tailed beast. However, how much rationality he has left in the 2nd stage of tailed beast state, that's hard to say. You'd better be mentally prepared. He can completely control the power of the 2nd stage of tailed beast. The creation of Jinchuriki has been in the ninja world for some years, so the major forces have also reached a very detailed level of research on Jinchuriki. They divide the Jinchuriki's tailed beast state into 3 stages according to the state of tailed beast. The first stage is that the whole body is wrapped in orange-red foamy chakra, and the appearance of the Jinchuriki can be barely distinguished through the translucent chakra coat. The second stage is based on the first stage, and the output of tailed beast chakra is further increased to condense the originally translucent chakra on the surface of the body into substance. In this state, the materialized tailed beast chakra on the body surface is black and red, completely blocking the line of sight. The appearance of the Jinchuriki is completely unclear, and only a human figure can be barely discerned. This is also the final form of most Jinchuriki. In this state, the materialized chakra coat on the surface of the Jinchuriki's body can almost block any damage, and any attack has the power to crush withering away. With the blessing of the tailed beast chakra, it is not tired at all. If it is put on the battlefield, it is completely a human-shaped weapon of mass destruction. This is also the origin of the title of Jinchuriki's war weapon. However, as the amount of tailed beast chakra used by the Jinchuriki increases, the backlash of the tailed beast becomes more serious, and it will compete for the control of the Jinchuriki's body. In this case, how much the Jinchuriki can suppress the will of the tailed beast determines how much power they can exert. However, above the first and second stages, there is also the third stage in the original theory. The reason why it is said to be the third stage in the theory, that is because the third stage is to completely release the power of the tailed beast and completely transform the Jinchuriki into a tailed beast. This means that the body of the tailed beast needs to be dominated by the consciousness of the Jinchuriki itself, rather than using the human body to exert part of the power of the tailed beast in the first and second stages. This is a reversed order of the tailed beast, which is fundamentally different from the previous 2 changes. In this state, it is equivalent to unsealing the tailed beast. In terms of the general relationship between the Jinchuriki and the tailed beast that has been completely released will never return to the seal on its own initiative. Without the restraint of the seal, they will become the host and will immediately drain the chakra of the Jinchuriki himself, and the Jinchuriki will have no chance to survive. Therefore, this third stage of tailed beast transformation only exists in theory. But what is in this theory has now been realized. The current 8-tailed Jinchuriki and 2-tailed Jinchuriki of the Hidden Cloud Village have reached a consensus with the tailed beasts in their bodies and live in harmony. Therefore, they can fully release the power of the tailed beasts without any scruples, without fear of being taken away by the tailed beasts. They have become the 2 perfect Jinchuriki in the history of the ninja world. This makes the other 4 major ninja villages both envious and fearful. The second stage of the tailed beast transformation? That's really amazing. After hearing his father's words, Manu was deeply moved and asked, is it possible for him to? Impossible. Manu was interrupted by the head of the Hazuki clan before he finished speaking, because he had guessed what his son wanted to say. He continued, it is said that the 2 perfect Jinchuriki in the Hidden Cloud Village also went through countless training hours before they were recognized by the tailed beasts. And Yagura Kuratachi has only been a Jinchuriki for a year. It is already a miracle that he can barely control the second stage of the tailed beast transformation. As for being recognized by the tailed beasts and becoming a perfect Jinchuriki, that is simply impossible. If that is the case, then my Hazuki clan will directly regard him as the 4th generation Mizukage. What is there to fight for? The father's tone was firm, and there was no room for doubt. Manu no longer doubted anything, and he was even less afraid of the three-tailed Jinkriki whom he had never met. By the way, how is mother's health? Manu suddenly remembered something. She's going to be born soon. The doctor said it will be in the near future. Although his father's face did not fluctuate, Manu could still hear a hint of joy. In the mist-hidden Anbu, Ziguashan Puffer Ghost was quietly flipping through the information in his hand. When the Hazuki clan sent people to test Yagura, he also sent his subordinates to test Yagura's strength. And the information in his hand was the result of his subordinates. However, compared with the Hazuki clan who knew the water transformation secret technique, the survival rate of the Anbu subordinates he sent out was much lower. In the past 3 months, nearly 10 of the people he sent out died, and 20 were seriously injured. If he had not been in charge of part of the Anbu authority, there would not be so many people for him to use. In addition to testing Yagura, he also deliberately sent people to investigate the Hazuki clan. After all, the previous Mizukage was from the Hazuki clan, and this time they clearly stated that they would participate in the competition for Mizukage. If he didn't get to know the details of the Hazuki clan and make preparations early, he really couldn't feel at ease. I'd like to recommend a show called Demon Slayer. I watched the first few episodes, and it's pretty good. Also, please recommend a book. If you think this book is okay, please recommend it to your fellow readers. Chapter 209 Arrival. Unfortunately, the Hazuki clan is very well guarded, and everyone in the clan is their own people. Unlike the unknown personnel that the third Hokage arranged to guard Yagura, it is difficult for outsiders to infiltrate and inquire about the news. Then, he put down the information about the Three Tails Jinchuriki in his hand and picked up another document on the table. It read, Hazuki Maingetsu, age 14, suspected to be a competitor of the Hazuki clan for the position of Mizukage. A mere child dares to participate in the competition for the position of Mizukage, and the Hazuki clan is also. The Fugu Ghost's disdainful words only stopped halfway, because he saw the information record below that Hazuki Maingetsu was suspected of being able to use multiple ninja swords. It's quite interesting. He showed a meaningful smile on his face. Unfortunately, a child is a child after all. What's the point of being able to control those ownerless ninja swords? After all, he can't be my opponent. Ha ha ha. After that, he could no longer suppress the joy in his heart and laughed triumphantly. Hazuki Maingetsu was too young, and he really couldn't take it to heart. After all, there are only a handful of geniuses in the ninja world who can rival his level of ninja at this age. He doesn't believe that the Hazuki family has such good luck that such a genius has emerged. As for the 4 ninja swords, he also didn't take them seriously. Although the 7 ninja swords of the Hidden Mist Village have extremely unique and powerful effects, it is precisely because of this that being able to fully utilize the effectiveness of one ninja sword is already the limit of ordinary people. And now, the Hazuki clan has a full 4 ninja swords. If you say that the kid can freely utilize the effectiveness of 4 ninja swords, he won't believe it, even if you kill him. After all, in the history of the Hidden Mist Village, there has never been a genius who can freely use multiple ninja swords. Taking a step back, even if the opponent can really use 4 ninja swords freely, he is not afraid. Because he has the big sword Samehuda among the 7 ninja swords in his hand. The battlefield of the battle for the Mizukage is a chaotic battlefield. In such a battlefield, the characteristic of Samehuda absorbing the opponent's chakra and becoming stronger as the battle goes on will be brought to the extreme. The entire battle for the Mizukage was simply designed for him. He believed that the person who would win the final victory would be him. Also making preparations before the war were other family forces in Kirigakure and ambitious people who were ready to participate in the battle for the Mizukage position. That night, the Kirigakure village was brightly lit. When the first ray of morning light penetrated the mist and landed in Kirigakure village, countless ninjas, civilians, and merchants poured into the streets, rushing to the battlefield of the battle for the Mizukage. Some were ready to enter the battlefield directly, or to participate in the test of the Mizukage competitors, or to participate in the battle for the Mizukage position. Some were to grab a good viewing position, but unfortunately there were more savvy guys who had secretly rushed to grab the viewing point before dawn. Others were speculative merchants who were ready to take advantage of the situation to sell snacks and make a fortune. As the audience appeared one by one, the major family forces also walked out of the station, either ready to watch the battle, or ready to test, or ready to compete. When the third generation Mizukage arrived at the scene and prepared to preside over the battlefield was already crowded with people, and it was very lively. Compared with the liveliness around the battlefield, the ruins battlefield was full of tension. Almost all the participants from each family had arrived. Taking the megaphone from the assistant, the third generation said loudly to everyone, "Today, we will decide the new Mizukage here. Anyone who aspires to be the Mizukage can participate. As long as you pass the test of everyone, you will be the new Mizukage." Although the third generation already had a candidate in mind, he still had to say some polite words. This is to show the fairness of the selection of Mizukage, and to solve the obstacles to the new Mizukage's promotion at one time. Try to avoid twists and turns in the future. Then, he raised a finger and continued, 1 hour later, I will completely close the battlefield, and no one will be allowed to enter until the new Mizukage is born. If there are still people who want to enter the battlefield, make a decision as soon as possible. After that, he returned the megaphone in his hand to the assistant next to him, and in an instant he left the ruined battlefield and went to the high wall next to him. That was the protective wall of the hidden mist village. The entire battlefield was located on the ruins of the last civil strife, on the edge of the hidden mist village, close to the protective wall. With the protective wall nearly 10 meters high, he could clearly see everything in the entire battlefield. This was the best viewing position in the entire audience, and it was also his privileged position as a Mizukage. As for other major family forces, they occupied the surrounding high-rise buildings one after another for viewing purposes. Those who could not grab it also used various means to change the terrain with ninjutsu and artificially create various commanding heights as viewing platforms. The third generation Mizukage's words of ceremony excited many young people around, and many of them rolled up their sleeves and entered the battlefield one after another. However, in the eyes of the major families, these passionate young people are no different from those who are going to die. Outside the field, on a tall icicle, Qishuang curiously asked Mimori, "Is there no one from your Terumi clan participating in the fight for the position of Mizukage this time?" The girl crossed her arms, shook her head, and looked straight at the battlefield below and said, "There is no strong person in our clan who can suppress this situation, so we don't plan to participate in this fight for the Mizukage. However, I heard that the clan sent 50 elites to the battlefield this time, but I don't know which side they are going to support, and which side they are going to hinder." At this moment, a guy with orange hair, a round figure, and a bandage weapon on his back came into Terumi Mena's sight. "Look, the watermelon mountain puffer ghost has appeared." She pointed at the figure on the battlefield and shouted to the boy, "Yeah." Qishuang nodded. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost had a round and tall figure, and with the extremely eye-catching Samehada, he easily found it from the battlefield. "I heard that guy is the strongest competitor for the position of Mizukage this time, and most people think that he can really win the final victory in this battle for the position of Mizukage." The girl snorted, her tone full of displeasure. Because Ziguishan Puffer Ghost is a very clear conservative. For many Terumi, who has already leaned towards the reformists, it is a very bad result that Puffer Ghost successfully won the position of Mizukage. I heard that the candidate for Mizukage recommended by the third generation is the new three-tailed Jinkriki. I'm quite optimistic about the third generation's vision. Qishuang said with a smile. Although there is no news that Goji Yagura has become a perfect Jinkriki, he believes that, since the third generation has bet on Yagura, he must have a certain confidence. If nothing unexpected happens, Yagura at this time may have become a perfect Jinkriki, possessing the combat power to crush everything. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Disruption. It's just a kid. Terumi snorted, her tone full of disdain. She forgot that she was about the same age as Yagura. To others, she was also a kid. That's hard to say. The third Hokage is not suffering from Alzheimer's disease. How could he choose a helpless kid as the candidate for the Mizukage? Nana Qishuang replied with a smile. I don't care about that. Meditarumi pouted her lips, staring at the round figure on the battlefield and said, anyway, I get angry when I see that watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost. She still remembered that when they were on the front line, the 7 ninja swordsmen didn't look at them well, and then they underestimated the enemy and advanced rashly, and were defeated by an unknown person, causing the entire strategic plan of Kirigakure to fail. As the saying goes, the greater the expectations, the greater the disappointment. It was also from that time that the 7 ninja swordsmen lost their reputation, and she no longer had any awe and admiration for these strongest ninjas under the Mizukage. In her heart, she felt an indescribable contempt and disdain. After she had determined her reform ideas, she became extremely disgusted with the staunch conservative members like the pufferfish ghost. At this moment, the watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost became the most popular candidate for the Mizukage, and she felt that he was an eyesore, no matter how she looked at him. Thinking of this, an idea suddenly emerged in her mind. Do you dare to go down with me? Meditarumi turned around and looked at the boy in a daze and asked. Qishuang was stunned for a moment and said in surprise, are you not sick? It's so dangerous down there, and you actually want to get involved. What are you afraid of? The girl immediately glared at him, raised her head and said, I'm not going down to compete for the position of Mizukage. I just want to cause a little trouble to that annoying guy. Except for those competitors for the position of Mizukage, no one else will attack us. What if we run into a powerful guy? We will admit defeat in advance. Besides, there are still dozens of masters in our Terumi clan down there. If it doesn't work, we can act with them. There should be no problem. The rules of the battle for Mizukage are simple and rough. Anyone who acts alone on the battlefield will be considered a competitor for the position of Mizukage after the battle begins. Those who act together will be regarded as the assessors of the next Mizukage. Moreover, after the battle begins, the identities of the competitors and assessors will be fixed and cannot be changed. This also prevents those competitors from large families or groups from using collective strength to clear obstacles and then changing identities to win by trickery. Among them, competitors can attack other competitors and examinees, while examinees can only attack competitors and cannot attack other examinees. She chose to go with Nana Qishuang, which means that in the entire battlefield, the only people who can attack them are those competitors who act alone, and there is no need to worry about being besieged by other family forces or groups. Although the competitors who aspire to the position of Mizukage have many means, she is confident enough to rely on herself and Nana Qishuang to protect themselves from these people. There are not many people who can threaten their lives. That's what I said, but Nana Qishuang was still a little hesitant. Kiratachi Yagura is the most dangerous existence in this battle. Once the opponent exerts the power of the tailed beast with all his strength, those with weaker strength will not be able to withstand a blow. In this case, the number of people is completely meaningless. But he can't say such unfounded words to Mei. It's really tangled. Seeing that he was reluctant to agree, Meditarumi stamped her feet hard and said angrily, coward, if you don't want to go, forget it. I'll go by myself. After that, she turned around and tried to jump off the icicle. Wait. Qishuang hurriedly grabbed the girl's hand and said with a wry smile, I didn't say I wouldn't go. Don't be anxious. Although he had people of the same tribe to take care of him, he was still a little worried about letting Meditarumi go down alone. After all, most people didn't think highly of Yagura Gojira. In addition, Yagura's innocent face that looked harmless to people and animals made it easy for people to look down on him. By then, everyone might suffer a great loss. Humph. Meditarumi stopped and snorted coldly, then why didn't you say anything for so long? She was still upset about Qishuang's previous hesitation. For such a dangerous thing, you have to let me be mentally prepared. Qishuang let go of the girl's hand and said with a smile, what about now? Are you ready? Meditarumi looked at him straight and asked, okay. Fearing that she would be angry, Qishuang raised his hands in surrender, not daring to waste any more time. He stomped his feet lightly, and the icicles under his feet suddenly broke into pieces and slowly sank down. Not long after, they landed on the ground. Many ninjas watching the battle nearby saw it and secretly felt sorry. After all, not everyone has the ability to change the terrain to get a commanding height to watch the battle. Originally, they were thinking that when the war started, they would take a ride and go to the icicles to get a better view, but now it is completely impossible. Then, Qishuang and the other person walked into the ruined battlefield amid many envious, regretful, and mocking eyes. On the protective wall, Goji Yagura carried his beloved weapon, the coral stick, and whispered to the third generation, "Old man, can I go down now?" Looking at the eager eyes of the young man, the third generation waved his hand helplessly and smiled bitterly, "Go, go. But remember, you must be careful of the big sword Samehada. Its ability is very restraining Jinkriki." At the end, he reminded again. Samehada's ability was too tricky, and the pufferfish demon's own combat experience was much more than Yagura's. If Yagura was too careless, he would still be defeated by the pufferfish demon. Therefore, before the battle, he reminded Yagura several times. "Well, I know." Yagura waved his hand nonchalantly and immediately jumped down from the protective wall. At the same time, he also asked Sanwei in his heart, "Hey, Isage, is that Samehada really as powerful as the old man said?" Sanwei replied nonchalantly, "You don't have to worry about that ninja sword at all. If it were another Tsurugi, it might be difficult to deal with it, but it happened to meet me. The worries of the old man of the third generation are all unnecessary." Hearing Sanwei's confident answer, Yagura was relieved. "Thank you so much, Isage." Landing lightly on the ground and thanking sincerely, Yagura slowly walked into the ruins of the battlefield amid many curious eyes. An hour passed quickly. The third generation stood on the protective wall, holding a megaphone and shouted loudly, "Time is up. No one is allowed to enter the battlefield." Then, he signaled to the assistant beside him, "Let the barrier class open the barrier." "Yes." The assistant responded, and immediately disappeared from the spot to convey the order. Then, in the excited eyes of the people outside the field, nearly 100 light blue chakra beams rose from the edge of the battlefield. All the beams of light gathered into a point in the sky above the center of the battlefield, and then a translucent light curtain spread down in the gap between every two beams of light. In an instant, the entire battlefield seemed to be completely covered by a multifaceted pyramid barrier. Battle, begin. With the third generation Mizukage's order, the battle for the fourth Mizukage position in the Hidden Mist village officially began. Officially entered the 7 Frost Soy Sauce stage. If you don't like it, you can skip this plot. I will come back after this plot is finished. Chapter 211. War begins. As the voice of the third generation announcing the start of the war fell, the originally noisy battlefield fell into an eerie silence. Everyone restrained their breath and quietly searched for targets around them under the cover of the ruins. It was okay for the examiners. After all, they were in groups and were not afraid of the challenge of competitors. But for those lone competitors, once they showed up, they would be besieged by countless people. For them, this was an extremely bad situation. Maybe they could deal with 10 or 20 people, but they were human after all, and they would get tired. Facing a steady stream of examiners, no one could stand it. Therefore, a large part of the competitors had the idea of hiding for a while, preserving their strength, letting the other competitors consume the examiners, and then coming out to clean up the mess. Although this was contrary to the original intention of deciding the strongest mist ninja, the rules did not prohibit this. After all, the number of examiners was far greater than that of competitors, reaching a level of nearly 100 to 1. Even if a competitor was lucky enough to hide until the end, there would not be too few examiners left on the battlefield. There was absolutely no chance of winning the final victory by dodging and taking shortcuts. Besides, the entire battlefield is so small that you can hide for a while, but not forever. This trick can only be used at the beginning to avoid the sharpest attack of the examiners. When the battle enters the white hot stage, there will be no unknown areas in the entire battlefield, and no one can hide anymore. This is also the reason why the contestants are not prohibited from hiding in the battle for the Mizukage. Soon, an examiner found the traces of the contestants. Boom. A loud explosion seemed to have really kicked off this battle. Then, explosions came one after another, and more examiners found the traces of the contestants one after another, and the two sides started fighting. In an instant, the battlefield, which was unusually silent before, immediately became lively, and the sounds of explosions and shouts of killing spread throughout the entire Kirigakure. On the other side, Qishuang and the other person encountered a team of 10 people on the battlefield. Both sides were stunned for a moment, and then turned a blind eye, each looking for a direction, and going their own way. Examiners cannot fight each other, this is one of the rules. After all, this battle is for the purpose of deciding the new Mizukage. The battle between examinees is meaningless. Aren't we following your Terumi clan? Qishuang asked loudly to the girl next to her. The sound of explosions on the battlefield has not stopped. If the voice is too low, it will not be heard at all. No need, let's go directly to that annoying guy, the puffer ghost, and create some trouble for him. Another violent explosion sounded, and Terumi Mei covered her ears and replied loudly. Then, the two followed the direction of the explosion, and went straight there. After all, where there is an explosion wave, there will be a battle, and where there is a battle, there will be competitors. At this time, they did not know the location of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, so they could only find the competitors on the battlefield first, and then slowly confirm their identities. On the other side, the people of the Ghost Light clan spontaneously divided into 10 teams of 10 people each. Following the instructions of the clan leader, they cleaned up all the competitors and cleared the opponents for Manzuki Kazuki, while looking for the traces of Zigguash and Pufferfish Ghost and Goji Yagura. For the Kazuki clan, the main competitors for the position of Mizukage this time are these two people. The rest of the small fish were not taken seriously by them. In a corner of the battlefield, Yagura was carrying his beloved coral stick and walking leisurely on the battlefield. He had just walked a few steps when he suddenly stopped and grinned at a ruin next to him, saying, "Such a crude trap can't be hidden from me at all." After that, he took off the coral stick on his shoulder and threw it to the ground in front of him. Clang! With a dull metallic echo, the dark weapon with a hook on one end and a green flower embedded in it was inserted into the ground. Boom boom boom. The coral stick seemed to have triggered some mechanism, and a series of dazzling flames suddenly rose on the ground. That was because the detonating talisman trap was triggered. The strong shock wave produced by the explosion followed closely with smoke and rubble. Kill. At the same time, nearly 10 mist ninjas rushed out from the ruins of the houses nearby, and under the cover of the explosion, they rushed straight towards the boy, who deliberately set off the trap. "I hope you can play with me for a while." Looking at the people coming, Yagura joked with a smile, but his hands did not stop, and he slowly made a set of hand seals. Although his hand seal speed was not as fast as that of experienced jonin, hand seals were not necessary for casting spells. It was just a convenient way to control chakra conversion, which was convenient for casting ninjutsu. After all, it was too much of a burden on the mental power to control the chakra changes and cast spells with only one's own mental power. Simple spells were fine, but some extremely complex ninjutsu were not controlled by mental power alone. But now, he had the help of the three-tailed beast in his body, and his control over chakra increased. When casting spells, he could simplify a lot of hand seals, and the release speed of this ninjutsu was naturally improved. Just before the explosion, he stamped his foot. Water style, water array wall. The rushing spring water rushed up from his feet, immediately forming a huge hollow water column with a diameter of 5 meters, which protected him firmly inside. The impact of the explosion of countless detonating talismans easily collapsed several buildings around, but when they hit the water column with rubble, they could not shake it at all. The water column, that rushed up to the sky, was like cast steel, and it did not move at all under the impact of the explosion. Instead, the rushing torrent in the water column dispersed the grey smoke in the air. Seeing this scene, the mist ninjas who followed immediately gave up the idea of a head-on collision and stopped 2 meters in front of the water column, and then quickly turned back. This three-tails Jinchuriki is really capable. No wonder the third generation took a fancy to him and recommended him as a candidate for the Mizukage. Looking at the water column rushing up to the sky, the mist ninja who led the group said solemnly, "Judging from the speed of the opponent's spell and the scale of the water array wall, it is definitely not an ability that a child of this age can possess. As far as the current situation is concerned, this person has obviously surpassed the level of an ordinary elite jonin. Everyone be careful." The mist ninja solemnly warned again. Yes. Yes. Everyone responded in unison without any objection. After all, the facts are in front of us, and everyone is not blind. As if sensing the aftermath of the explosion, the boy inside withdrew the spell, and the water column subsided, revealing a thin figure. Whoosh, whoosh. A strange sound of wind came from above their heads, and everyone subconsciously looked up, only to see a dark stick-shaped weapon, spinning like a windmill, and falling from the sky. The landing point was exactly where the green-haired and purple-eyed boy was standing. But Yagura raised his left hand without even looking up, and caught the coral stick, that was bounced back by the explosion just right. "You must let me have fun," he said to everyone with faint excitement. Chapter 212 Siege. The 10 Mist Ninjas looked at each other and dispersed in groups of 2 in tacit understanding. 5 groups immediately surrounded Yagura. The 2 people in the first group took out their kunai and rushed forward, ready to entangle the opponent with close-range attacks and not give him the opportunity to cast a seal. Ding. Yagura easily avoided the attack of one of them and blocked the kunai of the other with the coral stick in his hand. At the same time, the attack of the second group of Mist Ninjas was also ready. Water style, water wave, water style, water wave. The 2 Mist Ninjas spit out a high pressure water column at the same time, spraying it directly at the back of the boy. Because of the direction, the 2 Mist Ninjas who chose to fight in close combat immediately noticed the oncoming water column and immediately abandoned the opponent in front of them and dispersed to both sides. Yagura was a little slow to react because his back was facing away, but he still noticed the attack from behind. Just as the 2 people who were entangled with him retreated, he did a backflip and easily avoided the 2 high-pressure water columns. There was a loud bang, and 2 water columns fell into the air, causing the collapsed buildings to rustle. Before he landed, the third group of Mist Ninjas immediately used 2 ninjutsu. Wind style, fierce wind palm. Wind style, fierce wind palm. 2 swift and fierce winds blew out from the 2 people, and in the blink of an eye, they were under Yagura. Yagura suddenly felt the strong wind hitting his face, and even breathing was a little difficult. Then, he felt his body lighten, as if 2 invisible big hands held him up from below and immediately lifted him up to the sky. Then, the remaining 2 groups of Mist Ninjas on the ground also launched the spells almost at the same time. Water style, water dragon bullet jutsu. Water style, water dragon bullet jutsu. Thunder style, ground walking. Thunder style, ground walking. 2 water dragons raised their heads on the ground, opened their huge mouths, and whistled at the boy who was gradually falling in the sky. Following closely behind them were 2 blow arcs of electricity. The electric arc conduction speed was extremely fast. In just a blink of an eye, the 2 water dragons were completely covered, forming 2 powerful attacks mixed with lightning escape and water escape. This 3-tailed Jinchuriki is just like this. Seeing this scene, a Mist Ninja who had been entangled with Yagura earlier said disdainfully to his companion next to him. Under the perfect coordinated attack of the 10 of them, the 3-tailed Jinchuriki had no power to fight and fight back. As long as the last 2 mixed attacks fell, everything would be completely over. After all, the current 3-tailed Jinchuriki was too young and lacked combat experience. Even with the power of the tailed beast, it was still difficult to fully play a role in actual combat. Don't be careless. I always feel that our combined attack this time is a bit too smooth. Another person stared at the falling boy and said solemnly. He really couldn't rest assured until the last moment. In midair, Yagura, who was falling rapidly, also discovered the electric water dragon rushing up from below. However, he was in midair and could not find any leverage point, so he could not turn to evade. At this point, he finally understood that the attacks of the first 3 groups of Mist Ninja were just a cover, and only the last 2 groups of Mist Ninja were the ultimate killer. However, facing such a dangerous situation, he was not nervous at all. "Aizo, lend me some of your chakra," he called out loudly in his heart. "Yeah, I got it." Sanwei replied nonchalantly and activated his own chakra, which seeped out of the boy's body. Then, when the electric water dragon approached, a lot of red chakra quickly surged out of Yagura's body. Like a pile of red foam, it immediately wrapped him in it. Boom. At the same time, 2 water dragons followed closely with lightning, holding Yagura on the left and right, and smashed straight to the ground. Rumble. With a deafening roar, scattered water and surging electric current, the ground was smashed by the two water dragons into a large pit with a radius of nearly 5 meters. How is it? Is it solved? Someone asked in a low voice. I can't see clearly. I don't know what the result is. Another person stared at the big pit and replied. The pit was filled with water vapor and electric currents. Their perception was greatly affected. For a moment, they couldn't figure out what was going on with Yagura. Be careful and alert. We shouldn't have killed him with that move just now, the leading Mist Ninja said while taking precautions. He noticed that, when the electric water dragon approached, a lot of red chakra surged out of Yagura's body. If he was not mistaken, it should be the chakra of the tailed beast. With the protection of the chakra of the tailed beast, it would be difficult to cause effective damage to the Jinchuriki with just that level of attack. At this moment, he noticed that a violent chakra aura in the pit was rapidly increasing. There was no doubt that it was the aura of the tailed beast chakra. Be careful, he's fine, he's going to fight back, the leading Mist Ninja reminded loudly. Hearing him say this, and noticing a stronger and stronger aura in the pit, everyone couldn't help but look solemn. Ha 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 ha, it's really interesting. So interesting. With a hearty laugh, under the tense eyes of the Mist Ninjas, a boy wrapped in red chakra slowly walked out of the pit. Be careful, he has already started the first stage of the tailed beast transformation, the leading Mist Ninja reminded again loudly. In this state, ordinary attacks are difficult to work on Jinchuriki. Walking out of the pit, Yagura looked at everyone and said happily, I have been bored for the past 3 months. You are the first wave of opponents I have met in this battlefield. It's rare for me to be so happy. I decided to let you go, and not kill you. In the past 3 months of dormancy, the third generation did not allow him to expose his strength in casual fights with others. He had no place to vent his energy, and felt very uncomfortable. Although some people occasionally came to provoke him secretly, the strength of those guys was extremely limited. In addition, those people came one by one, and it was difficult to pose any threat to him. Therefore, he could not find the fun of fighting from those people at all. Today, on this battlefield, everyone joined forces to attack, which finally gave him a sense of crisis, allowing him to fight seriously and experience the fun of fighting. Outside the field, after the war, the major families used their own methods and quickly locked in the 3 hot candidates for the Mizukage, Zigwashin Pufferfish Ghost, Goji Yagura, and Manzuki Kizuki. As for the others, they were completely out of their focus. Because, based on their understanding of the current situation in the Hidden Mist Village, apart from these 3 people, they did not think that there was a 4th person who could compare with them. Especially Manzuki Kizuki. If it were not for the reason of being from the Kizuki clan, they would not be willing to include him in the hot candidates for the Mizukage. But then again, the Kizuki clan is also a famous clan in the Hidden Mist Village. They deliberately sent such a young man of the same age as Goji Yagura to compete for the position of Mizukage. It must not be to let him die in vain, and there must be some reliance. This is also why they reluctantly listed him as one of the hot candidates for the Mizukage. It's just that everyone is not optimistic about him at all, and he is even worse than Goji Yagura. Please collect, book list, recommend. Chapter 213 Strong. As for the rest of the spectators, they were just watching the fun. In their eyes, except for the famous one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Zigwashin Puffer, other competitors could not win the final victory in this battle for the Mizukage. As for the candidate, recommended by the 3rd generation, the 3-tailed Jinchuriki, in their eyes, he was just an ordinary harmless boy. They had never heard of Mainjetsu of the Kid family. Therefore, most people's eyes fell on Zigwashin Puffer, the favorite candidate for victory this time. Only a small number of people noticed Yagura in the corner of the battlefield. Originally, they saw the 10 Mist Ninjas working together to attack, and they were worried about the boy, but after seeing him take the attack of 10 people without any damage, they were all shocked. It was really unexpected. However, after seeing this scene, many big families outside the field were not surprised at all. After all, the candidate recommended by the 3rd generation would not be able to take such an attack. What they wanted to see was something more. They wanted to see how far Yagura had reached in using the power of the tailed beasts. Rather than the first stage of the tailed beast transformation in front of them, On the battlefield, the 10 Mist ninjas who surrounded Yagura frowned after hearing his big talk. Who do you think you are? You're just a hated Jinchuriki. One of them spat with disdain and continued to mock. Give us a way out. You think too highly of yourself. Whether I can do it or not, won't you know later? Facing his ridicule, Yagura didn't take it to heart, but instead showed an extremely confident smile. At this moment, another burst of dense footsteps approached rapidly, and nearly 20 Mist ninjas appeared around, and together with the 10 Mist ninjas who were originally present, they surrounded the red-covered boy. So many people come to play with me again. This battle is really getting more and more interesting. Glancing at everyone, Yagura laughed, still without any nervousness. Friends of the Hazuki family, how about we take down this ignorant guy together? The Mist ninja who had led the siege of Yagura asked the newcomers loudly. Based on the family emblems on those people, he recognized that they were all ninjas from the Hazuki clan. It must be the huge noise caused by the battle just now that attracted them. Of course, we are happy to do so. A leading Hazuki ninja looked at the surrounded boy, licked the kunai in his hand, and smiled very proudly. One of the rules of the water shadow competition, in addition to the competitors, any examiner can participate, and the rest of the examiners fight with the competitors. In other words, the battle here does not limit the number of people who besiege the competitors. It just prohibits the competitors from participating in the siege of other competitors. This is to prevent competitors from relying on family power to lead the crowd, to besiege other competitors and win by trickery. For the glory of the Hazuki clan. Brothers, let's go. The leading Hazuki clan ninja shouted, and immediately rushed over with a kunai. They practiced the water transformation technique, and were completely immune to physical attacks. In addition, they could change their bodies at will, so they were best at close range attacks. Or they could provide cover for their teammates, allowing them to attack indiscriminately, while they could dodge with the water transformation technique, to create opportunities to defeat their opponents. Oh. So bold. Seeing me using the tailed beast transformation, you still dare to fight me in close range? Seeing a large number of people rushing up, Yagura was a little surprised. Earlier, he didn't know much about Jinchuriki, but as his relationship with the Three Tails improved, he gradually learned about Jinchuriki from the Three Tails. Jinchuriki who transformed into tailed beasts, because of the strong defensive ability of the chakra coat on their bodies, were not afraid of close range attacks at all. Except for those special superpowered ninjas, it was impossible for ordinary people to cause effective damage to Jinchuriki in this state. He didn't believe that these ninjas didn't know this. Forget it. Thinking of this, he shook his head again. He was really not good at this kind of guessing game. No matter what these people planned, he didn't plan to let them get close again. After all, there were too many people. There were nearly 30 people in total. If they rushed at him, he would hardly have a chance to cast a spell. If he only relied on physical skills, he would not have the upper hand, since he only had 2 hands. Although he would not be injured by the protection of Isabu, he would definitely be in a mess. Not only that, with the comprehensive improvement of his physical fitness after the transformation of the tailed beast, he also sensed that there were many Mist ninjas around him, rushing over here. Once they held him back, it would be difficult to get away. Therefore, he made up his mind not to be entangled by this group of people. Then, he quickly formed a few seals, and then raised the coral stick high. When the 20 Hazuki ninjas rushed in front of him, he aimed at the ground, and pounded it hard. Water style, a tsunami technique boom. With a muffled sound, the coral stick in Yagura's hand pounded heavily on the ground. With the power of the tailed beast, the coral stick generated a huge shockwave when it hit the ground, which immediately shattered the ground, and collapsed the ground within a radius of 5 meters. They did not expect him to do this, and they did not expect the ground to suddenly change so much. The few ninjas of the Ghost Lantern clan who were rushing in the front missed a step, and their bodies stagnated, and their forward speed immediately dropped. Then, they staggered a few times and almost fell to the ground. Then, they saw a circle of big waves rising from the ground at the feet of Yagura, rising higher and higher with the sound of waves. In the blink of an eye, the blue wave surged to a height of nearly 20 meters, and turned into a tsunami. How could it be? Looking at the huge waves, many fog ninjas around were stunned, and subconsciously stopped the action of making hand seals. Facing this level of huge waves, they really didn't know what moves to use to resist it. At this moment, they seemed to recall the fear of being dominated by a catastrophic tsunami. In front of the power of nature, I'm so insignificant. At the moment when Yagura cast the spell, many spectators outside the venue also noticed the huge wave. There was no way they couldn't ignore it. The nearly 20-meter high wave could not be ignored by anyone. Who is that? How could he cast such a terrifying water-style ninjutsu? A spectator who was closer to Yagura's battlefield pointed at the huge wave and asked in a trembling voice. Even though he was outside the venue and protected by the barrier, at this moment, he still felt insecure. If he didn't feel embarrassed to turn around and leave like this, he really wanted to run away. That's the candidate for Mizukage recommended by the third generation, the current Three Tails Jinchuriki, Yagura, Karatachi. The kind-hearted Mist Ninja behind him also replied in fear. Chapter 214 Different Opinions. It's him. It's him. Hearing such an answer, many viewers were shocked. No one thought that the harmless little ghost who was not favored by everyone could use such a terrifying water escape ninjutsu. It was really shocking. At this moment, relying on the impression of this huge wave, everyone couldn't help but raise Yagura in their hearts. Raised to the same height as the watermelon mountain puffer ghost. On the protective wall, the third generation who also saw the huge wave was also relieved. The stronger the strength shown by Yagura, the greater the possibility of successfully winning the position of Mizukage. The Hidden Mist Village will also move forward according to his expected track, and nothing will go wrong. The third generation was happy, but the fog ninjas who maintained the barrier below were all in their throats. They didn't know who was the masterpiece of this terrifying water escape ninjutsu, but they knew that they were going to suffer. In order to prevent the battle on the battlefield from affecting the audience, the third generation asked them to set up a barrier to block the aftermath of the battle. This job looks tiring, but it is not. The people on the battlefield will not attack the barrier for fun, and rarely will their attacks fall on the barrier, so their work of maintaining the barrier is not hard. Since the start of the war, they have not suffered much combat impact. With the barrier, created by the combined efforts of hundreds of people, it is extremely easy to block those stray bullets. At present, the huge wave that appeared on the battlefield is not directly coming towards their barrier, but from the power of that ninjutsu, it will definitely affect the barrier. In order to protect the spectators outside the venue, they must do their best to block the impact of the water escape. But such a huge amount of water hitting the barrier, even if 100 people share the pressure, it is not an easy job. Then, everyone increased the output of chakra and reinforced the barrier. On the battlefield, everyone who saw the terrifying huge wave was also shocked. Even many mist ninjas who were fighting chose to temporarily stop the battle and climbed to a high place to see what happened. At the same time, in a dilapidated alley, Meditarumi stopped when she noticed the strong chakra fluctuation. What a strong water ninjutsu, who did it? She asked subconsciously while looking at the huge wave. It should be Yagura Kyujitsu. In this battlefield, no one except Yagura Kyujitsu has such a huge amount of chakra and can perform such a huge water ninjutsu. Qishuang replied solemnly. Except for Yagura Kyujitsu, who is the Jinkriki, no one's chakra can support such a huge scale of ninjutsu. It's him. Meditarumi was surprised and said, judging from the scale of this ninjutsu, I'm afraid that the area within 100 meters will be affected, and no one can stop it. After that, she shook her head. You'd better pray that the people of your Terumi clan are not nearby. Otherwise, it will really be a pain. Qishuang said gloatingly. Hearing this, Meditarumi turned around, glared at him fiercely, and then walked away angrily. Hey, wait for me. Don't be angry. I was just joking. Qishuang hurriedly chased after him. In another corner of the battlefield, Maingetsu used the steel wire of the long sword sewing needle to set a trap, trapping dozens of examinees in it. When he was about to kill them, he also saw the huge wave. Because he was too surprised, his movements slowed down. We admit defeat. We admit defeat. Several examinees who got a chance to breathe hurriedly begged for mercy. One of the rules of the battle for the water shadow, do not kill those who admit defeat and surrender. Although the purpose of the battle for the water shadow is to let the new water shadow kill the strongest name to shock everyone. but those who can enter this battle are the elites of the Kirigakure village. If they are all killed, the loss to Kirigakure will naturally be very great. Therefore, the first generation set a rule that you can admit defeat. After all, admitting defeat and surrendering also means submission, and it does not necessarily mean killing. However, the loser must withdraw from this battle for the water shadow. This is also to prevent someone from pretending to surrender. Based on this point, they can get a chance to survive. TSK. Hearing everyone begging for mercy, Manu curled his lips and reluctantly put away the wire. If he hadn't been a beat slower, this group of people would not have had a chance to beg for mercy. But since the other party has already shouted, he can only let them go. Because those who violate the rules will be deprived of the qualification to participate in the battle. After all, there are countless eyes outside the barrier, and it is impossible to hide it from everyone. He doesn't want to leave the field inexplicably because of this. Get out. Manu yelled at everyone hatefully, and turned his face aside. The Miss Ninjas who escaped death all breathed a sigh of relief and immediately rushed to the nearest barrier in dejection. They have to leave. No longer paying attention to the group of Miss Ninjas who left, Manu looked at the unstoppable waves with a heavy heart. It seems that I have to take this Samehada. He muttered to himself. I thought that I had 4 ninja swords in my hand, and I had at least a 50% chance of winning against the 3-tailed Jinchuriki. But now, seeing that huge wave, he felt that he had overestimated himself and underestimated his opponent. With only 4 ninja swords in his hand, he would not even have a 20% chance of winning. Only by getting Samehada would he have the possibility of fighting against the 3-tailed Jinchuriki. I can't delay any longer. I have to find the watermelon mountain puffer demon first. Then, he stopped looking at the surging waves and followed the battle waves that had just erupted in front of him. On the other side, after using Samehada to absorb the chakra of a competitor, the puffer demon casually threw the body on the ruins beside. No matter how much chakra there is, it's still the food for my precious Samehada. Looking at the huge wave from a distance, he smiled meaningfully. In this battle for the water shadow, he is not afraid of anyone. If there are really 2 people he cares about, they are only Yagura Kuji and main Jetsu Kizuna. But he has Samehada in his hands, so opponents like Yagura who rely on the chakra advantage to win, can only be a feast for him. Only that main Jetsu Kizuki made him a little more wary. Although he was a little skeptical about the information that main Jetsu Kizuki could use 4 ninja swords, at least he was sure that the other party had the ability to use ninja swords. As one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, he naturally knew a lot about the 7 ninja swords. Every ninja sword user is not an easy target to mess with. Main Jetsu Kizuki, who can use ninja swords, is indeed capable of fighting him. The problem lies in how much effectiveness of the ninja swords the other party can bring out. It's always better to be careful. Chapter 215 Clearing the Scene. On the other side, the 20-meter high wave next to Yagura, after reaching its peak, crashed down to the ground with a roar. The half-collapsed old house, the dilapidated streets, and the broken walls, originally after experiencing a civil strife, still stubbornly stayed on this land. But now they have ushered in their doomsday. In just a moment, the half-collapsed old house was completely shattered under the scouring of the huge waves. The stone slabs on the dilapidated streets were lifted up piece by piece by the huge waves, and the broken walls were shattered inch by inch, completely submerged in the waves and disappeared. Wherever the huge waves passed, it seemed to peel off a layer of the ground, and there was nothing on the ground. Run. I don't know who shouted, and the group of Miss Ninjas who were about to besiege Yagura were so scared that they ran away, wishing they had 2 more legs. And those Miss Ninjas who were farther away and had not yet arrived at the battlefield saw everyone fleeing, and they immediately turned back and dared not go forward. The most unlucky ones should be the 20 ninjas of the Ghost Lantern clan who were preparing for a close fight. Because the distance was too close, they didn't even have the chance to call for help. In an instant, they were swept into the raging waves and disappeared. But the luck of the others ended there. The circular wave was 20 meters high. It rolled down and directly covered an area of nearly 20 meters in radius. They tried their best, but couldn't run out of the coverage of the wave. The huge wave hit, and the remaining 10 Miss Ninjas were immediately swept in. Only those who had not entered the battlefield temporarily avoided the ruthless waves. But it was only temporary. The waves surged, flattening everything on the ground, and continued to rush around at a very fast speed. Those mist ninjas who escaped halfway fled in fear. Yagura, who was in the center of the waves, raised his lips, flicked the coral stick 3 times, and murmured, "It's not that easy to escape." Then, he saw the sea water with him as the center surged again with 3 huge waves, rolling around. The back waves pushed the front waves, and the front waves became more and more turbulent. In just a blink of an eye, the huge waves in the front caught up with the fleeing people. In the thunderous sound of the waves, those mist ninjas caught up by the huge waves did not even have a chance to resist and were wrapped up. Then, in the horrified eyes of the audience outside the venue, 4 waves of huge waves quickly spread around, carrying an irresistible momentum, and crashed into the nearest barrier wall. Boom boom boom. Even though there was a distance, everyone could still hear the sound of the huge waves hitting the barrier one after another. The light curtain of the barrier flickered continuously, and the light and dark were uncertain. One can't help but wonder whether the fragile light curtain will be shattered in the overwhelming waves. Fortunately, after several waves, the noise became smaller and smaller, gradually calmed down, and the barrier light curtain finally stabilized. Everyone couldn't help but secretly breathe a sigh of relief. However, it was hard for the 100 mist ninjas who maintained the barrier. Yagura's struggle really took them a lot of effort. When the waves receded, a thick layer of debris accumulated on the edge of the barrier. There were broken stone slabs, broken beams, and even many seriously injured and unconscious mist ninjas. There were examinees for this battle, and there were also competitors for this battle. Unfortunately, Yagura's indiscriminate large-scale attack directly affected nearly a quarter of the battlefield. Many of them didn't even see Yagura, and were eliminated in one move. It has to be said that this is really a great irony. When everyone looked inside, they saw that the battlefield centered on Yagura Kujira had been raised to the ground for hundreds of meters. Except for the remaining puddles, nothing was left. This horrifying scene made everyone wonder whether the watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen under the Mizukage, could defeat Yagura Kujira. The tide receded. Yagura wiped his nose and then slowly pulled his beloved coral stick out of the ground. Looking at the barrier light curtain above his head, he was surprised and said, "It didn't break? Those guys are quite capable." At this time, the layer of red chakra on his body had disappeared, consumed by the tsunami he had just used. The Hidden Mist Village is one of the 5 major ninja villages after all. The barrier set up by nearly 100 mist ninjas is not so easy to break. Sanwei said unhappily in his heart. "But didn't you say that with your help, we can be invincible to Kirigakure? How come we can't even break a barrier?" Yagura asked in his heart in confusion. Sanwei was blocked by his words and said angrily, "How can it be the same? I said invincible in a single fight, not that you can beat everyone in the village by yourself. Besides, this barrier outside is a defensive barrier, and there are nearly 100 Kirigakure ninjas supporting it. How can it be broken by any ninjutsu of yours? Except for the tailed beast jade I taught you, other moves can't break it at all. Is that so?" Yagura felt a little regret for laughter hearing Isugae's explanation. Originally, he was thinking of dismantling the barrier and giving everyone a surprise. At this moment, Yagura noticed that there was a strange chakra fluctuation in the surrounding puddles. Then, he saw human-shaped water columns surging in the puddles one after another. What a bunch of annoying guys. Carrying the coral stick, looking at the human-shaped water streams, Yagura frowned and said. He recognized it at a glance. It was the water transformation technique of the Hazuki clan. It should be the group of Hazuki clan ninjas who use the water transformation technique to avoid the impact of that tsunami. In the past 3 months, among those who sneaked to his daughter fight, there were some mist ninjas who used the water transformation technique. They were not very strong, but they were very durable and could not be killed, no matter how hard they were beaten. When he first met them, he felt it was very interesting and thought he had found an immortal toy that he could play with boldly. But slowly, he found that these guys were not only more durable, but their strength was a mess. They were not fun at all. Instead, they stuck to him like sticky candy, which was very annoying. Therefore, he was very impressed by this water transformation technique and recognized it at a glance. The human-shaped water column condensed, and the Hazuki clan mist ninjas showed their true faces one by one. The familiar faces were the same group of people that Yagura had met before. It just confirmed his guess. "You bunch of annoying guys, I'm going to turn you all into coral reefs today." Yagura slammed the coral stick to the ground, then pointed at the Hazuki ninjas and said angrily. Then, red chakra surged out of his body again. Chapter 216 Hydration. However, this time was different from the last time. As the red-tailed beast chakra surged more and more, the red chakra coat on Yagura's body gradually turned black and red, and even his original appearance could not be seen clearly. Be careful, he has entered the second stage of tailed beast transformation. Looking at Yagura, whose aura was becoming more and more violent and powerful, the leading Kizuna clan mist ninja shouted to his fellow clan members. However, he was not sure how much rationality the other party still had in this state, and whether there was a risk of going out of control. At the same time, many big families outside the field also widened their eyes and carefully observed Yagura's state, hoping to judge what kind of combat power Yagura was at this time. In addition to curiosity, they also had some worries in their hearts. The second stage of tailed beast transformation is also the limit of ordinary Jinkriki. At this stage, because Jinkriki used a large amount of tailed beast chakra, the problem of tailed beast backlash became more and more serious. Yagura may lose control of the tailed beast chakra at any time, and then go out of control. At that time, it will be very troublesome. In the battlefield, Yagura supported himself with both hands, crawled on the ground, and stared closely at the many Hazuki ninjas around him. The black and red chakra had been solidified on his body, forming a shell on his back that just covered his body, and 3 flat tails were floating behind him. At this time, except for the difference in overall color from the 3-tailed body, his body shape was infinitely close to the 3-tailed body, like a small 3-tailed clone. Seeing this scene, many clan leaders and powerful people from various departments outside the field could no longer sit still and immediately rushed to the protective wall. Third generation, Yagura's tailed beast transformation has reached the limit of the second stage of tailed beast transformation, and he is on the verge of losing control at any time. We should immediately end the battle for the Mizukage and suppress Yagura. The clan leader of the Hashigaki clan said loudly to the old man wearing a bamboo hat with the word water. Yes, we can't let Yagura use the power of the tailed beast anymore. The clan leader of the Terumi clan echoed. At this time, Yagura was no different from a small 3-tailed. He used too much tailed beast chakra and could lose control at any time. The third generation smiled slightly and waved his hand to comfort him. Don't worry, Yagura is fully capable of controlling this extreme change, and there will be no risk of losing control. Because I have already seen it. At this time, it was not yet time to reveal Yagura's perfect Jinkriki identity. He wanted to save this surprise for everyone until the end. He really wanted to see what the expressions of all parties would be when they tried their best, but were finally won by that young boy Yagura. Therefore, the third generation quietly covered up for Yagura. Seeing the Mizukage's solemn look, everyone couldn't continue to insist. After all, Yagura had no signs of going berserk at this time, and there was no point in entangled with the third generation. In the end, they had to stay on the protective wall with full of thoughts, and continue to pay attention to the battle below. On the battlefield, Yagura, who had turned into a small 3-tailed ninja, used all 4 legs, and rushed straight towards the 20 Hoto ninjas. With the blessing of the huge amount of tailed beast chakra on his body, he was extremely fast, like a red light, and immediately rushed to the nearest person, raised his front paw, and immediately scratched him. Ding. A light sound came. The man was a little nervous, but he still tried his best to raise the weapon in his hand and hastily block the black and red claw that was protruding. But that was all. Just as he blocked the claw, a black and red flat tail followed. Wow. The man's head was swept by Yagura's tail, like a water ball that was squeezed and burst, and the water immediately splashed all over the ground. HMPH. Seeing that the attack was ineffective, the support of the other Hazuki clan ninjas also rushed up. Yagura snorted coldly and retreated immediately. Then, 2 Hazuki clan ninjas blocked the man, and the others chased him directly. Are you okay? One person asked the fellow clan member with concern. I didn't the ghost lantern who used water to avoid the fatal blow to his head. Before he finished speaking, he was horrified to find that a layer of strange coral-like substance had grown on his hand that had just blocked Yagura's claw. The whole hand was covered with that layer of strange substance, and he couldn't even move his fingers. What was even more terrifying was that the layer of strange substance was still spreading rapidly throughout his body, and it looked like it was going to seal him in. Without time to think too much, he immediately liquefied his whole body and dispersed into a puddle, thus avoiding being sealed by that layer of strange substance. Without the support of his body, the layer of grey strange coral substance immediately fell to the ground and stopped growing. Damn it, I didn't expect that even my coral palm didn't work. Seeing this, Yagura cursed angrily. Then, he made the three tails behind him grow very long and swept them towards the dozen ghost lantern ninjas who rushed up. The three tails were like sharp razors and immediately cut all the ghost lantern ninjas who rushed up into several pieces. But he was not happy at all, because the strange water escape technique possessed by this group of people could ignore any form of physical damage. Soon, the broken bodies of the group of people were reconnected again, and they rushed up again, as if nothing had happened. What should I do, Izo? Yagura called out in his heart with some impatience. He was young, and had not experienced many battles. His lack of experience made him helpless against the strange secret techniques of the Kizuna clan. He could only turn to another partner in his body for help. The secret techniques of the Kizuna clan are immune to all physical damage, but they are extremely afraid of lightning escape. In his heart, Sanwei said slowly, as if he knew everything. It has existed since the beginning of the establishment of Kizuna village, and it knows a lot about the famous ninjutsu of Kizuna village, so it also knows the corresponding cracking methods. But neither you nor I know lightning escape. Yagura shouted in his heart with dissatisfaction, and used his tail to smash the few people who rushed up again. We can still waste time with them. Sanwei paused, and continued, after all, in terms of chakra, they can't compare with you at all. Just wait until their chakra is almost used up, and then the water transformation technique will naturally not be able to be performed. That won't work. If I really do this, doesn't it mean that I have no way to deal with them? Then where will I put my face when I become the Mizukage in the future? Yagura rejected Sanwei's suggestion and then rushed towards the crowd in front. Crash. Many Hazuki ninjas turned into water splashes all over the sky and once again avoided Yagura's fierce collision. There were even many people who took the opportunity to attack Yagura, but their weapons landed on Yagura's body, leaving no mark at all. They were all blocked by the layer of black and red chakra shell. Then, try using my ice escape, Sanwei suggested again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Weakness. Ice Escape. Yagura was stunned for a moment, and then asked in his heart, there is no difference between the attack made by Ice Escape and the general physical attack, right? In his impression, Ice Escape is to create hard ice blocks for throwing attacks. The two coexist, and Yagura did not deliberately hide his thoughts, or it can be said that he, a simple guy, never thought of hiding. As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Sanwei noticed what he was thinking. Stupid, I didn't ask you to be stupid enough to create ice blocks and throw them out. Sanwei cursed in his heart angrily. After beating the people around him into a splash again, Yagura took several steps back and then asked curiously in his heart, what do you mean? In the sealed space, the three-tailed beast shook his tail and said slowly, use water escape as a cover, and then use ice escape to surprise, and use the water created by water escape to freeze all these guys. In this way, their water transformation technique will be meaningless. Huh. Yagura screamed in his heart and immediately said happily, this is a good idea. This is a good idea. Then, he was seen slowly standing up and his hands flipped quickly again. Be careful, he is going to use another ninjutsu. The leading ghost lantern ninja shouted to the surrounding clan members. It's okay, except for lightning escape. We are not afraid of any ninjutsu. One person said confidently. The three-tailed beast itself is mainly water escape and does not know lightning escape. According to the investigation, Yagura of Goji can't use lightning escape. This is also the reason why only 20 people from their Ghost Lantern clan dared to come and entangle Yagura. If the opponent has no means to restrain them, they can use the water transformation technique unscrupulously and keep entangled. Just wait for Manu to get the big sword Samehada. Everything will be completely over. As soon as the voice fell, the boy on the opposite side finished the seal. Water style great waterfall technique. Yagura opened his mouth and sprayed, and a torrent gushed out of his mouth, growing bigger and bigger, and in an instant, formed a waterfall as wide as 10 meters. What did I think it was? It's just a mere water style. You are such a forgetful guy. Facing the rushing torrent, a ninja from the Hazuki clan stood still, and mocked without disguising. Their water transformation technique can liquefy the body, and the enemy's water style ninjutsu will not only not hurt them, but will become the best cover for them to hide. Hearing the ridicule of their own clan, the Hazuki clan ninjas couldn't help laughing. Ha ha ha. The surging waterfall followed closely, and the surging sound of the waves immediately drowned out the laughter of the crowd, and then their figures disappeared in the torrent. Seeing this, Yagura, the source of the waterfall, was also stunned. He didn't expect that this group of annoying bastards would cooperate so well and actually actively merge into his water escape. What a godsend. Then, he quickly changed his hand seals, interrupting the release of water escape, and injected the ice attribute chakra of the three tails into his rapids. Ice escape, frozen earth. In the moment when the rapids were interrupted, the water in front of him stopped flowing immediately, and a touch of Snow White was driving the light blue towards the direction of the rushing water. That was frozen. In the blink of an eye, the waterfall with Yagura as the source condensed into a thick ice field. The group of weird Ghost Lantern ninjas just now disappeared without a trace, as if they had evaporated from the face of the earth. Seeing this scene, there was an uproar outside the venue. Although everyone didn't know where those Ghost Lantern ninjas had gone, it was obvious that such a situation would not end well. Originally, they thought that the ninjas of the Hazuki clan could fight with Yagura with their strange water transformation technique. Unexpectedly, they were defeated not long after. It was really shocking. On the protective wall, the Hazuki clan leader who saw this scene had a darker face than the bottom of a pot. He clearly remembered that Yagura himself did not have the blood limit of ice escape, and could not perform ice escape, so the sudden ice escape could only come from the three-tailed beast. Although the three-tailed beast mainly uses water escape, it can also perform wind escape and ice escape. One knows one's own business. The biggest weakness of the water transformation technique is that it is afraid of lightning escape. If it encounters lightning escape, the water transformation technique will lose most of its effectiveness. But in addition to this, the water transformation technique is also afraid of high temperature ninjutsu such as fire escape and low temperature ninjutsu such as ice escape. Although water overcomes fire, if the temperature is too high, water will also be evaporated by fire. But facing the extremely strong high temperature ninjutsu, their water transformation technique not only cannot resist, but will be evaporated by the high temperature, and die without a complete corpse. As for low temperature ninjutsu, it is easier to understand. Any liquid object will be affected in a low temperature state. The lower the temperature, the more difficult it is to move, and even completely stop moving. Although they can use the water transformation technique to liquefy their bodies, they are human beings after all, not liquid dead objects, and it is impossible to maintain that state for a long time. Therefore, they are also a little afraid of low temperature ninjutsu. Now, the liquefied bodies of the 20 elites of the clan are sealed by Yagura's ice escape, and they are no different from dead people. Although their liquefied bodies are not ordinary water, and will not be condensed into ice, all of their bodies are diluted into Yagura's water escape because of liquefaction. At this moment, the ice escape is released, freezing the entire waterfall, and they no longer have the opportunity to change back to their original state. After a long time, they can only die silently in the thick ice layer. Without even a chance to beg for mercy, he died inexplicably. Even his body could not be found. 20 elite soldiers were gone, and the leader of the Ghost Light tribe felt his heart bleeding. On the battlefield, Yagura searched along the frozen waterfall, but still did not find any signs of the previous group of annoying guys appearing again, so he breathed a sigh of relief. That's good, that group of annoying guys who can't be killed won't bother me anymore. Picking up the coral stick on the side, he walked leisurely to the other end of the battlefield. Looking at the boy who was gradually walking away, one of the Terumi clan ninjas hiding in the dark said to the leader, "Boss, should we chase him and stop him?" The leading Terumi clan ninja thought for a while, shook his head and said, "Forget it. Judging from the current situation, the few of us are no match for him, and rushing up will only be a waste of death." After they found the huge wave, they rushed over immediately and happened to witness the scene of Yagura killing 20 Ghostlight clan ninjas in one fell swoop. Therefore, they came to the conclusion that they were no match for the enemy, but it will be hard for the leader to explain to the Kizuki clan in the future, right? One person said cautiously. The leading Terumi clan ninja looked at Yagura's receding back and said slowly, "The Kizuki clan just wants us to show our support for them in their fight for the position of Mizukage. Right now, Yagura's combat power is beyond our expectations, and we have no choice but to retreat. But this does not mean that our position of supporting them has changed, so the leader should have no problem dealing with the Kizuki clan." Chapter 218 Kaguya. Before the battle for the position of Mizukage began, the Hazuki clan had approached the Terumi clan and promised them benefits, hoping to gain their support. Therefore, the clan leader had instructed them to help the Hazuki clan clean up the remaining competitors before they set out. Especially the candidate for the Mizukage recommended by the third generation was the top priority. But the fighting power of Yagura of Goji was far beyond everyone's expectations, so they had to give up. Let's go find other people to start with. The leading Terumi clan ninja called out to his fellow clan members, and then chose a direction opposite to Yagura, and slowly left with everyone. On the other side, after Qishuang and the other person solved two young people who came to join in the fun on the battlefield, they found a corpse that looked like dry firewood. "This corpse is so strange," Terumi Mei said, carefully poking with a kunai. Because the corpse was in such a strange state, she was afraid that someone had left some special means on it, so she didn't dare to touch it directly with her hands, and could only use the kunai to turn it over. "It's like someone drained all the water out of his body," she added, looking at the shrunken corpse and the terrified face of the dead. "Drained?" After hearing what she said, Qishuang, who was in deep thought, immediately came to her senses and said solemnly, "He was not drained of water, but his chakra was drained." In addition to being drained of water, this kind of death may also be drained of chakra. As far as he knows, the entire Kirigakure village has not used the method of draining body water to kill people, and there are no ninjas with this habit. It is Yikang, the scorch release user from the Send village, who would use such a method. But it is obviously impossible for her to appear here, and the Kirigakure village does not have the bloodline limit of scorch release. Then the cause of this person's death is likely to be drained of chakra. Chakra absorbing ninjas are rare in the ninja world, but there are many in the Kirigakure village. Drained of chakra. Many Terumi also seemed to realize something, and shouted out a name in surprise. Zigwashan Pufferfish Demon. Speaking of extracting chakra, there are many people in the entire Mist village who can do this, but the only one who can really suck a person into a mummy is Big Sword Samehada. Therefore, the guy who can make a corpse look like this can only be the owner of Samehada, Zigwashan Pufferfish Demon. With his killing method, there must be more than one mummy along the way. As long as we follow the corpse, we should find that guy soon. Standing up, Qishuang squinted and searched around. Soon, he found another similar mummy in a ruin 10 meters away. "Follow me." He gestured to Terumi and immediately walked towards the second mummy. "Wait for me." The girl put away her kunai, abandoned the mummy on the ground, and immediately followed. Using the corpses as a guide, after finding 12 mummies in a row, Qishuang and the others saw the round and tall iconic figure of Zigwashan Pufferfish Demon among a group of fighting mist ninjas. The group of people who besieged him were not easy to deal with. They were all covered with white bone spurs, and with their light and flexible steps, they surrounded the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, and launched a swift close-range attack. Judging from the situation, even the famous Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost seemed to be restrained and overwhelmed in the face of the crazy attack of this group of people. That should be the Kagura clan. Nana Qishuang, who did not rashly join the battle, said with emotion while standing aside. The white bone spurs allowed him to confirm the identity of those people at a glance. It was a bloodline limit called Corpse Bone Vein, and the entire ninja world was only one family, no semicolon. HMM. Meditarumi nodded and frowned. Why are these crazy guys here too? The Corpse Bone Vein Kagura clan has extremely strong combat capabilities, and even in the entire ninja world, it is a bloodline limit family that ranks among the best. But their clan has a bloodline limit disease, and any member who awakens the bloodline limit often dies young, so the overall number is not large. Even after spending several years on the battlefield, Meditarumi has only seen a few members of the Kagura clan. There are too few Kagura clan members. The Hidden Mist Village has sent medical ninjas to conduct research many times, hoping to solve the genetic diseases of the Kagura clan, expand the size of the Kagura clan, and increase the foundation of the Hidden Mist Village, but in the end they all returned in vain. Also because of their own diseases, the awakening of the bloodline limit means the countdown of life. Or in order to enjoy the last moments of life, most of the Kagura clan members will change their personalities after awakening the bloodline limit. After that, they will become extremely aggressive, act recklessly, and fight extremely crazy, not cherishing their lives at all. It's okay during wartime. The Hidden Mist Village can put these fighting maniacs on the front line without scruples, but in peacetime, their existence makes the people of the Hidden Mist Village feel a little uncomfortable. Because the Kagura clan is too aggressive, and the Hidden Mist Village itself does not prohibit killing, this leads to them often provoking meaningless battles in the Hidden Mist Village. Every year, countless people die because of them. In the end, the major families in the Hidden Mist Village couldn't stand this group of fighting maniacs, so they unanimously drove them out of the Hidden Mist Village. Therefore, the current Hyuga clan's residence is not in the Hidden Mist Village, but in a village near the village. Unexpectedly, this group of madmen also came to the battle for the Mizukage, to wade into the muddy waters. In the battle group, facing the attack of more than a dozen Hyuga clan members, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost felt that it was getting more and more difficult to parry, and he couldn't help but get anxious. This group of fighting maniacs with bone spurs all over their bodies has extraordinary combat power, and in a sense, it still restrains him. His Samehuda has the ability to absorb the opponent's chakra, but it must have direct contact with the opponent, or chakra connection. But the bone spurs all over the body of this group of fighting maniacs are not chakra simulations, but real bone products. He chopped it with a knife, and the Samehuda was immediately stuck between the bone spurs, and could not touch the opponent's flesh at all. The conduction of chakra by bones is also extremely limited, and his Samehuda can't absorb much chakra from the opponent. As time goes by, his chakra consumption becomes greater and greater, and he can't absorb it from the outside world, so he will only become weaker and weaker. By then, I'm afraid his dream of becoming a water shadow will be completely shattered. Then, he pushed away the Kagura tribe members in front of him with a knife, retreated several steps, and then quickly formed a set of hand seals. Water style, great waterfall technique. He took a deep breath, and his chest swelled up, and then he opened his mouth, and sprayed a torrent at the enemy in front of him. The torrent quickly expanded, and turned into a waterfall more than 5 meters wide. Unexpectedly, he suddenly changed his tactics, and many Kagura tribe members were unable to dodge, and were immediately knocked off their horses by the sudden waterfall, retreating a long way. After the attack was successful, the Puffer Ghost stopped the ninjutsu and stood there, cursing, "You bastards. Didn't we agree that you would help me eliminate the remaining competitors, and when I become the Mizukage, I will let you return to the Hidden Mist Village?" Chapter 219 Warlike. As soon as these words came out, Qishuang and the other person not far away were stunned. After all this time, this group of warlike lunatics were the helpers brought in by Ziguishan Puffer Ghost himself. It was just that for some reason, the Kagura clan, which should have been allies, actually fought with their own people. Spitting out the dust in his mouth, a Kagura clan member climbed up from the ruins, all wet, and laughed strangely. It is said that the 7 ninja swordsmen are the strongest under the Mizukage. You, Ziguishan Puffer Ghost, are one of the strongest in the current Mist Village. So, we all want to see how powerful the Samehuda in your hand is. As soon as the voice fell, the Kagura clan members, who were stunned by the puffer ghost's waterfall, climbed up from the ruins one after another and echoed, "Yes. We want to test your ability. We like to challenge strong people like you. Let's feel the joy of fighting." Hearing the shouting of the Kagura clan, Zigguishan puffer ghost couldn't help but frown and said angrily, "A bunch of lunatics." He originally wanted to use the strong fighting power of the Kagura clan to put it into this battlefield, to eliminate the other competitors for him. Who would have thought that he would run into this group of guys in this battlefield? It just so happened that this group of guys was extremely belligerent, acting recklessly and without regard for the consequences. Now that he was caught, I'm afraid they would not let him go easily. For a moment, he actually regretted bringing the Kagura clan into this battle. This help was not seen, but became a hindrance. Let's go up and help the Kagura clan to deal with that annoying guy. Meditarumi on the other side said eagerly. Wait a minute. Qishuang hurriedly grabbed her, pointed at the Kagura clan members who were surrounding the puffer ghost again, and said solemnly, with those crazy people here, we should not intervene rashly. Maybe they will take care of both of us. Hearing this, Terumime's interest suddenly decreased. The reputation of Kagura for bellicosity is known to everyone in the entire Kirigakure. With their arrogant temperament, they don't care about the basic rules of the battle, nor do they care about being eliminated or not. Because they are here to fight and have fun. As for the position of Mizukage, maybe they don't care at all. If the two of them rashly join the battle, I'm afraid the Kagura clan will excitedly beat them both together. This is meaningless. What should we do? We can't just stand there and watch, right? Thinking of this, Terumime asked in surprise. Let me test their attitude first. Qishuang walked out slowly and shouted to the crowd of people fighting. Friends of the Hyuga clan, such an interesting battle. Why don't we also participate in it? Darn. Hearing his words, a member of the Hyuga clan seemed to be distracted and was chopped away by the watermelon mountain puffer ghost. Fortunately, he had long bone spurs all over his body, and the watermelon mountain puffer ghost's knife was stuck by the bone spurs and did not hit him at all. Except that his internal organs were a little painful due to the power transmitted from the knife. The rest was fine. Get out. You annoying little ghost. You made me get chopped. If you keep talking nonsense, I will kill you too. With the help of the bone spurs on his arm, stuck on a broken wall next to him, the Hyuga clan member stabilized his body and cursed at Qishuang and the others. If he had not been distracted by the words of the little ghost, he would not have been chopped like this. Then, he glared at the two fiercely and flew again to join the battle group besieging the watermelon mountain puffer ghost. I think we should wait a little longer. After receiving such an answer, Qishuang turned around, shrugged, and said to the girl helplessly, for the warlike Kagura clan, a strong man like the watermelon mountain puffer ghost is like a delicious meal, and they are not willing to share it with others. Then how long do we have to wait? Terumime pouted. She took such a big risk to enter this battlefield just to make trouble for the watermelon mountain puffer ghost. Now, that person is right in front of her, but she can only watch and cannot move, which is really uncomfortable. Wait until the Kagura clan falls into a disadvantage. Qishuang shook her head and sighed, looking very regretful on the surface, but secretly happy in her heart. Compared with Terumime, who was thinking about making trouble for the watermelon mountain puffer ghost, he was unwilling to participate in such a dangerous battle from the bottom of his heart. If he was not worried about Ming's safety, he would not rashly enter here. Now that the Kagura clan refused their help, he was very happy to hide aside and watch the fun. After all, neither the Zigguishan puffer demon nor the Hyuga clan's ninjas could handle them. Are you sure that when that time comes, the Hyuga clan will ask us for help? Terumime said doubtfully. Although the Hyuga clan's ninjas are strong, their opponents are not easy to deal with. At present, even if they have some advantages temporarily, it is estimated that it is only a matter of time before they fall into a disadvantage. How is that possible? Qishuang waved her hand and explained hurriedly, given the arrogant character of the Hyuga clan, they will not ask for help from others, even if they die in battle. What I mean is that when they fall into a disadvantage, if we attack them again, they will not care about us. Whether they are willing or not, they will never attack us again. That's true. After hearing his words, Terumi nodded and agreed. As the battle between the Hyuga clan and the Ziguishan Puffer Demon became more intense, many Miss Ninjas arrived here one after another. There were examinees and competitors. After recognizing the two sides in the battle group, no one wanted to provoke the lunatics of the Hyuga clan, so no one joined them rashly. Especially after two rash young men joined the battle group rashly and were strangled by the Hyuga clan. The examiners were more determined to wait and see. But not joining the Hyuga clan's battle group does not mean that there is no fighting. Once the examiner and the competitor meet, the battle will not end unless one side surrenders. Soon, with the Hyuga clan's battle group as the center, everyone opened up several small battle groups and fought hard for a while. Forced by the situation, Qishuang and the others had to join a small battle group and start besieging a competitor. After all, two lonely examiners like them can easily become the target of other competitors. If they encounter any tough ones, it will be dangerous. Therefore, the two of them chose to follow the collective action. On the other hand, because of the tricky corpse bone veins of the Hyuga clan, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost has been unable to repel them, and more Miss Ninjas are gathering around. He became more and more anxious after smelling a hint of danger. I wanted to spare your lives so that you could eliminate some of my opponents, but you don't know what's good for you and insist on fighting me. Don't blame me for being rude. After making up his mind, the pufferfish ghost danced wildly with the Samehada in his hand and immediately chopped off several people beside him. Chapter 220 Solution. In an instant, he rushed out of the encirclement of the Hyuga clan like a tiger out of a cage. Don't let him run away. A member of the Hyuga clan shouted loudly and stretched out his arms, pointing his 10 fingers straight at the back of the puffer ghost. Corpse bone vein, 10-finger piercing bullet. I saw that the tips of his 10 fingers suddenly emerged with a series of small white bone spurs, which immediately broke away from the 10 fingers, like arrows shot out by someone, and shot towards the round figure with a whizzing sound. Some members of the Hyuga clan also followed suit and shot small bone spurs directly at the puffer ghost. I saw that a white rain of bone spurs immediately formed in the air, covering the round figure of the puffer ghost. Damn it. Seeing that he could not escape the coverage of the rain of bone spurs, the puffer ghost had to give up the idea of evasion and immediately stopped, holding the Samehada, and swung it in front of him like a big windmill. Thump thump thump. Amid the dense sound of bone spikes hitting Samehada, he blocked all the bone spike missiles that were shot at him. As for those bone spikes that he didn't block, they hit a broken wall next to him, turning it into a sieve. At the same time, with the cover of their own tribe, 4 or 5 Kaguya people also carried bone blades and surrounded them from both sides. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you just because you have a strong body? Naive. Looking at the opponent approaching, the pufferfish ghost spat disdainfully and then made a seal with one hand, pouring his chakra into his hair. Ninjutsu, hard hair binding technique. The long orange hair on his head suddenly stood up, and it grew a lot at a speed visible to the naked eye, and rolled towards the Kaguya people who were running over. Just a few hairs. Look, I'll shave your head. A Kaguya said with great disdain, aiming the bone blade in his hand at the hair and cutting it. The bone blade was sharp, and it easily cut off a section of the attacking long hair. But before he could be happy, he found that the long hair grew faster. The broken hair followed the bone blade, wrapped around his arm, and spread to his whole body. The jagged bone spurs that had blocked Samehada were useless in front of this thinner hair. In the blink of an eye, the long hair of the puffer ghost wrapped around his limbs, making him unable to move at all. The same thing happened to several other fellow tribesmen who rushed up with him. Do you really think I can't cure you? What a joke. The puffer ghost pinched the seal with his left hand to control the long hair, restraining several people, and held Samehada with his right hand, sneering with great disdain. Samehada, absorb them all for me. Through his right hand, he injected a stream of chakra into Samehada, and with the intention contained in the chakra, the puffer ghost issued an order to absorb the opponent's chakra. Then, Samehada used the body of the puffer ghost as a medium to absorb chakra from the Kaguya clan ninja at the other end of the hair. Then, the bound people realized that their chakra was flowing out of their bodies through the hair of the puffer ghost. However, their limbs were locked by the hair of the other party, and they could not move at all. They could not get away and could only watch their chakra being sucked away unwillingly. Help, he is sucking our chakra. A bound member of the Kagura tribe asked for help from the rest of the tribe behind him in panic. Hearing this call, the Kagura tribe members who hurriedly caught up behind dared not neglect it. Once again, they pointed their 10 fingers at the source of the long hair. Corpse bone vein 10 finger piercing bullet. Corpse bone vein 10 finger piercing bullet. The rain of bone spurs took shape again and shot towards the puffer ghost. Humph, you want to save people? Impossible. Seeing this, the puffer ghost immediately understood that they were going to force him to let go. But for him, it was impossible to spit out the meat that was already in his mouth. Then, he controlled his long hair and pulled several locked Hyuga tribe members to his front, blocking the rain of bone spurs. There was only a series of muffled sounds, and all the bone spur missiles hit the meat shield in front of him. Then, blood was seen oozing out of the mouths of the Hyuga tribe members. Their eyes rolled back, and they were breathing in more than out. On the other side, seeing that the puffer ghost used their own tribe members as shields, the Hyuga tribe members were even more anxious. The 10 finger piercing bullet seemed small and had limited lethality, but each bone spur had extremely strong penetrating ability, and the human body alone could not block it. In addition, they all used it together, and the attack of the bone spur missiles was very dense. Facing such an offensive, the few tribe members who were used as shields had no chance of survival. Kill him. Kill him. For a time, the crowd was indignant, and the Hyuga tribe ninjas rushed over with shouts of killing, untying the shackles of his long hair and throwing down the few dying Hyuga clan members. The pufferfish ghost glanced at them coldly and said to himself, I'll absorb all your chakra so I can use it to deal with the small fish around. After that, he quickly formed a set of hand seals and gathered the chakra behind him. After getting chakra replenished from the Hyuga clan members, he no longer hesitated to consume it and continued to use ninjutsu. Water style, water dragon bullet technique. Then, a column of water broke out from the ground behind him, turned into a dragon, and rushed towards the Hyuga clan ninjas who were running. The corpse bone vein of the Hyuga clan is indeed very strong, but it is strong and has obvious weaknesses. Because of the corpse bone vein's bloodline limit, their clan is very good at close combat, but not good at long range attacks, nor good at dealing with long range attacks. Facing the bombardment of long-range ninjutsu, they are like a group of lambs to be slaughtered. The water dragon swept through the crowd of the Kagura clan with a majestic momentum, and immediately swept away many unlucky people who could not dodge in time. The pufferfish ghost who rushed up immediately seized the opportunity and once again infused chakra into his hair, causing it to grow wildly, and immediately caught the unlucky people who were swept away by the water dragon. Samehada, keep sucking for me. With the help of chakra communication, he gave the order to absorb the opponent's chakra through the weapon, wrapped in bandages on his hand. Immediately, he felt that a lot of unfamiliar chakra was sucked into Samehada through his hair and body, and the few Kagura clan members who were bound by him immediately became listless. At the same time, Samehada's hilt also fed back her chakra that was very compatible with his body, and the consumption of the ninjutsu just released was immediately compensated. That was when Samehada absorbed the opponent's chakra. It transformed the opponent's chakra into a type that was more suitable for him and fed it back to him, the holder of the ninja sword. After all, he himself does not have the ability to absorb the opponent's chakra and cannot convert foreign chakra for his own use. He must rely on Samehada to convert it before he can use it. Seeing that another member of the tribe was hit, the other Kagura tribe members were furious and rushed up again with red eyes. However, Ziguashan Puffer Demon has mastered the method to deal with them. After several times of using the same trick, there are only a few Kagura tribe members left in the field. Samehada should be able to absorb indirect contact, but the efficiency should not be as good as direct contact. Chapter 221 Disdain. The opportunity has come. Qishuang, who had been paying attention to the battle group on the side of the puffer ghost and was working without putting in any effort, immediately pulled Terumi Meli out of the battle group in front of him when he found that the Kagura clan was defeated. Their withdrawal caused a group of temporary teammates to complain. Sorry, the opportunity to fight with the 7 ninja swordsmen is not always available. We want to go there and try it. Seeing the complaining eyes of the crowd, Qishuang replied embarrassedly and then left quickly with the girl next to him. After hearing what he said, many people in the battle group stopped their actions and looked at the round figure wielding Samehada, thinking, the 7 ninja swordsmen are famous in the Hidden Mist village, and naturally they are the objects of admiration and challenge of many people. But they are very powerful and their whereabouts are uncertain, so the idea of challenging them can only be thought of by everyone on weekdays. Now, there is a great opportunity in front of them. The combined efforts of everyone to attack can not only greatly increase their own safety factor, but also allow them to feel the strength of the 7 ninja swordsmen up close, which is really rare. More importantly, if they defeat the Fugu demon with the combined efforts of everyone, it means that they also have the opportunity to obtain the big sword Samehada and become one of the 7 ninja swordsmen. You must know that the position of the 7 ninja swordsmen is not fixed, nor is it given by the top. As long as you hold any ninja sword, anyone can be ranked among the 7 ninja swordsmen. This is also one of the killing rules of the Hidden Mist village. Use ninja swords to provoke everyone's competition and use this to determine the strongest ninja sword user. This is also the reason why the 7 ninja swordsmen are called the strongest under the Mizukage. Because, on the road to becoming a ninja sword user, they have killed countless challengers and killed until no one can compete with them. At the moment, the group of warlike Kaguya clan lunatics have been defeated, and their opportunity to intervene in the battle group of the Fugu demon has come. Then, many of the surrounding mist ninjas abandoned their opponents and ran straight to the Watermelon Mountain Fugu demon. A bunch of guys who don't know their own strength. Seeing the gathering of mist ninjas, the pufferfish ghost released the last Kaguya clan member who was locked by his hair and slowly formed a group of hand seals. Ninjutsu, 1000 needles. His retracted long hair stood upside down, like sharp needles, and then suddenly shot out from his head, immediately forming a rain of hair needles, covering the surrounding mist ninjas. Some of them were slower, and they didn't have time to cast spells to block, and they couldn't find a suitable shelter to hide, so they could only wave their weapons in their hands to try to block the dense hair needles. But the idea was beautiful, and the reality was cruel. The shooting of the hair needles was dense and fast, and it was impossible to block it with just the weapons in their hands. Soon many people fell down. However, such guys only accounted for a small half after all. There were many more people who either cast ninjutsu, or used ninja tools, or found shelter to escape. Tap, tap, tap. The hair needles shot on the ice wall of Qishuang, making a tapping sound. They were not bounced off the hard ice, but penetrated directly into the ice. In the blink of an eye, the ice wall made by Qishuang was covered with dense hair needles. If this hits a person, even if he doesn't die, he can't move. Hiding behind the ice wall, Qishuang sighed as he looked at the hair needles on the other side of the ice. Even with the hardness of the ice he made, it couldn't bounce them off. It's conceivable how powerful these hair needles are. Fortunately, his ice wall was thick enough, so it was not penetrated by those hair needles. Otherwise, he would suffer. Who cares? I'll let him taste the power of my dissolution later. Meditarumi, who was also hiding behind the ice wall, said angrily with her fists clenched. I think it's probably bad. Qishuang shook her head while holding the ice wall. A glimpse of the whole picture shows that the power of the Watermelon Mountain pufferfish ghost can't be underestimated just by looking at the power of this hair needle ninjutsu. Terumi's idea of causing trouble for others was probably wishful thinking. Perhaps the pufferfish ghost would not even look at them, but would just kill them casually like slapping flies. He felt that it would be safer for him to be fully prepared and withdraw from the battle at any time. HMPH, if you don't believe it, forget it. Terumi said angrily. Because of Nana Shuang's pessimism, her fighting spirit became stronger. The rain of needles stopped soon, and Nana Shuang and the other two immediately turned out from behind the ice wall, and the other surviving mist ninjas also slowly walked out of the shelter. After noticing that many mist ninjas around had fallen in the previous wave of attacks, everyone's faces were not very good. If it weren't for the fact that there were so many people here, some people would have been unable to suppress their fear and ran away. The 7 ninja swordsmen were indeed not easy opponents. Seeing that everyone was afraid and stopped moving forward, the pufferfish ghost shouted loudly, even if there are 100 more of you, you will be food for Samehada in my hand. You'd better get out of the way and watch how I ascend to the position of Mizukage. After saying that, he could no longer suppress the pride in his heart and laughed loudly. Although everyone was a little afraid, they couldn't help but frown when they heard his sarcastic voice. The arrogant attitude of the pufferfish ghost really hurt their self-esteem. Everyone looked at each other and finally seemed to have made up their minds. Someone rushed out while making hand seals, shouting, "Even if you are the 7 ninja swordsmen, what's the matter? There are so many of us here today, can't we deal with you alone?" Water style, water wave. As soon as he finished speaking, he sprayed a high pressure water column at the round figure not far away. His voice seemed to have lit the fuse of a gunpowder barrel. Everyone followed closely, forming seals and casting spells. Rapids, lightning, and strong winds flashed in the air one by one. Of course, it was naturally filled with several ice cones of Ninashiro and the milky white mucus of Meditarumi. Ninjutsu of different colors gathered into a colorful storm, whistling towards the round figure in the center of the encirclement. Facing the massive attack of everyone, the pufferfish ghost showed a disdainful smile and muttered, "A bunch of trash. Even if they gather together, they are still trash." Then, the weapon in his right hand suddenly swelled up, breaking all the bandages wrapped around his body, revealing a strange appearance with a big head and a small tail, a huge mouth, and gray and black barbs all over his body. That was Samehuda's true form. Usually, he wrapped it with bandages, like a wrapped big knife. Its true appearance, however, has nothing to do with a knife, except that its tail looks like a knife handle. Then, he was seen holding up the barbed weapon with a large head and a small tail and a huge mouth above his head, and using the expanded size of Samehuda to block out the storm of ninjutsu gathered by everyone. Chapter 222. 4 Dragons. The strong wind, the surging rapids, the violent lightning, all failed to knock down the pufferfish ghost. He used Samehuda to block, and survived the storm of ninjutsu. When the storm stopped, except for the place where he stood, the ground around him within a dozen meters was all smashed into a mess by the ninjutsu of the crowd, and there was no flat place to be found. A bunch of trash, nothing more than that. Shaking off the water stains and other debris on Samehuda, the pufferfish ghost once again glanced at everyone with contempt. How could it be? Seeing this scene, the Mist Ninja couldn't help but doubt his eyes. More than a dozen Mist Ninjas joined forces to release ninjutsu, but they were blocked by the pufferfish ghost without any damage. It was incredible. That Samehuda is too powerful. Looking at the strange weapon in the hand of the pufferfish ghost, Meditarumi said very unwillingly, "Samehuda has the ability to absorb chakra, and once it comes into contact with ninjutsu or the human body, it can extract chakra. The human body is fine, as long as it breaks away from the contact state in time, it can get rid of the dilemma of chakra absorption, but ninjutsu is different. The essence of ninjutsu is the aggregation product of chakra. Once Samehuda comes into contact with ninjutsu, it is like a sheep entering a tiger's mouth. In an instant, the chakra contained in the ninjutsu can be drained, making it ineffective. This is also the reason why the pufferfish ghost can use Samehuda to block in front of him and persist in the storm of ninjutsu. However, Meditarumi really didn't expect that Samehuda could handle the ninjutsu attacks of more than a dozen people so easily. It was thought that, as long as the amount of ninjutsu attack was large enough and exceeded the absorption speed of Samehuda, it could cause damage to the pufferfish ghost. Now it seems that she underestimated Samehuda's ability to absorb chakra. Next to her, Nana Frost also sighed. If it is not powerful enough, it is not qualified to be one of the 7 legendary ninja swords. The ability to absorb chakra is not special in the ninja world, but Samehuda's absorption ability is the best among them. It was a bit difficult to overwhelm Samehuda's absorption with just the ninjutsu attacks of a dozen people. I'm afraid that, even if their number doubled, it would not be enough. It is precisely because of this super strong absorption ability that Samehuda has become the most troublesome of the 7 ninja swords. Is it over? The puffer ghost on the battlefield glanced at everyone in a signal. Seeing that no one said anything, he smiled triumphantly. In this case, it's my turn. I just got a lot of chakra from you. After saying that, he flipped his fingers and quickly made hand seals. With the ability of Samehuda, he gained a lot of chakra from everyone's ninjutsu when defending against the previous wave of ninjutsu attacks. At the moment, his whole body is full of chakra and needs to be vented. Knowing that something was wrong, Nanashi immediately pulled Meditarumi behind him and quickly made a set of hand seals. The other Miss Ninjas also retreated in a hurry, preparing to find shelter and be on guard. Water style, dragon dance. A large amount of chakra was transformed by the nature of water and output by the puffer ghost. Immediately, a circle of blue ripples appeared around him. The ripples expanded rapidly and soon turned into 4 blue water dragons about 10 meters long. Go. With a thought, the puffer ghost controlled the 4 water dragons to circle around him and spread out rapidly. Several mist ninjas hoped to interrupt the puffer ghost's spell, but they were still a step too slow. The detonating kunai they threw were blown aside by the storm generated by the 4 water dragons. They were useless. The water dragons circled and flattened the collapsed houses, swept away the broken stone slabs, and rushed to the surroundings unstoppably. Those mist ninjas who tried to hide in the ruins with a fluke mentality were immediately lifted into the sky. The mist ninjas who used the water array wall for defense were also crushed by the water curtain barrier by the water dragons, and were instantly blown away and disappeared. There were also mist ninjas who used the earth flow wall for defense. Because earth restrains water, and earth escape is better at defense, their defense wall did last a few more seconds. But facing the 4 circling water dragons, their earth escape defense barrier still seemed stretched. In the end, they couldn't hold on. Ice escape, frost wall on the other side. Qishuang finally accumulated chakra when the water dragon was about to arrive, and used his strongest defense technique. As his palms opened to both sides, ice condensed in his palms and spread around. In the blink of an eye, a round but not round ice barrier trapped the 2 people inside. Crack. The first water dragon whizzed past, and its huge body rubbed against the ice barrier, making a cracking sound. Qishuang immediately saw several cracks on the barrier. Help. I can't hold on alone. He shouted immediately. The impact brought by the water dragon has exceeded the limit of the ice barrier. The first one alone caused cracks in his barrier, and the next 3 could not be stopped anyway. You're bragging, isn't this your absolute defense? Meditarumi said teasingly, while making a seal. As she spoke, the second water dragon followed closely, once again brushing past the ice barrier. After a series of cracking sounds, the cracks expanded rapidly, and in the blink of an eye, they covered the entire barrier. Nana Frost tried her best to keep the barrier from completely breaking, and said anxiously, "It's not that my technique has a problem, but that the time is too short. I don't have time to accumulate more chakra to enlarge the defense barrier, so this defense is a bit disappointing. Besides, that guy used all the chakra he just absorbed from our ninjutsu in this technique. With such a huge amount of chakra, few people can resist it." As soon as she finished speaking, the 3rd water dragon arrived. Even through the ice barrier, Nana Frost could still feel the suffocating and terrifying pressure. At the same time, Meditarumi's ninjutsu was also ready. Dissolution and hardening technique. She placed her hands on the cold ice barrier, and a milky white hardened substance quickly spread under her palms, which was completely different from the soft mucus she usually used. In the blink of an eye, the milky white hardened substance covered the entire ice barrier from the inside with a thick layer. Crack. A sharp shattering sound came. Although she couldn't see the situation outside through the milky white hardened layer, the instant interruption of the chakra connection made Qishuang understand that his frost wall was broken. At the moment, when the ice barrier shattered, cracks appeared on the hardened dissolution and hardening technique of Meditarumi. How can it be so strong? She screamed when she sensed the pressure from outside. If it weren't for the ice barrier outside to slow down, she even doubted that she could not withstand the force of a blow. Now, you should know how ignorant it is to get involved so rashly. Qishuang scolded mercilessly and formed another set of hand seals with her hands. After all, Ming is not good at defense, and her technique alone is not enough to stop the last water dragon. He has to make other preparations. I feel like I'm being too supportive of the pufferfish ghost. Chapter 223 Shark Skin. After the 3rd water dragon, the 4th followed. Qishuang's second technique was barely ready. Water style, water prison technique. He opened his mouth and spit out a stream of blue water. In the blink of an eye, the entire internal defense space was filled with blue water. He and Meditarumi were immediately wrapped in a spherical body of water. At the same time, the fourth water dragon scraped outside the dissolution barrier, and the huge pressure immediately expanded the cracks on the entire barrier by more than 10 times. There was only a series of dense cracking sounds, and the entire hardened barrier exploded, and a section of the blue dragon body swept directly outside the water prison. Boom. Facing the pressure of the water dragon's body, the spherical water body immediately flattened down. Qishuang clenched his teeth and tried his best to stabilize the structure of the water body so that it would not collapse completely. Unfortunately, the pressure from the water dragon's body was too great. He only persisted for 2 seconds, and then his heart relaxed, and he completely lost control of the technique, and the water outside collapsed instantly. Seeing that blue water dragon body squeezed in, it immediately hit the two people. Under a huge force, the two were knocked out without resistance. Boom. Boom. Accompanied by 2 violent collisions, Qishuang and the other person smashed into a ruin. In the battlefield, after 4 consecutive water dragons raged, the 30-meter area centered on the puffer ghost had been razed to the ground, and no one standing could be seen. A bunch of trash. You dare to challenge me with this ability? You are really tired of living. After taking a glance at the empty surroundings, the puffer ghost spat fiercely. There are not many people in the current mist village that can make him afraid. As for these people, he didn't take them seriously at all. At this moment, the soil layer not far away suddenly broke open, and a mist ninja rushed out of it. In the blink of an eye, he rushed to him, and swung the kunai in his hand. Ding. The puffer ghost slowly blocked Samehuda in front of him, and immediately blocked the kunai stabbed by the man. At the same time, several figures emerged from the surrounding soil and rushed over. You bunch of rubbish are quite clever. You actually knew how to hide in the ground. Pufferfish Ghost said with a little surprise, resisting the attack of the newcomers, and glancing at the people rushing over. Obviously, this group of people hid from his wave of ninjutsu attacks by going underground. Realizing that his chakra was flowing to Samehuda through the kunai, the mist ninja immediately retreated and sneered, "Master Pufferfish Ghost, the reason why your ninjutsu just now was so powerful must be because it absorbed a lot of our chakra. If we don't use ninjutsu and only use physical attacks, your Samehuda shouldn't be able to play any role, right? Although the chakra of physical attacks will also be absorbed by Samehuda, the contact time is generally short, and the amount absorbed by Samehuda is extremely limited. In this way, Samehuda's ability will be greatly weakened. They have every chance to use physical skills to pull down the last of the 7 ninja swordsmen from the altar. Physical skills? Hearing him say that, Fuguki couldn't help but sneer twice, and then turned around and blocked the attacks of several other mist ninjas. He even used the huge weight of Samehuda and his own brute force to block the attacks of several mist ninjas and beat them back several steps. This is the funniest joke I've heard today. He glanced at several people and sarcastically said, "Do you really think that you can defeat me with physical skills without using ninjutsu? Today, let me tell you why we are called the 7 ninja swordsmen." After that, he kicked hard and rushed straight to the nearest mist ninja, raised the huge Samehuda, and immediately chopped it down on the man's head. Ding. The man didn't dodge in time, but still used a kunai to cross and barely blocked the powerful blow. Seeing this, several people around also rushed up to help. I'll tell you another secret. The Pufferfish Ghost glanced at a few people jokingly and said proudly, "This Samehuda is not for chopping, but for cutting." As soon as the voice fell, several barbs on the Samehuda protruded from the bandage, and the Pufferfish Ghost pulled it down along the handle. Ah! The mist ninja screamed, and the 2 kunai in his hands had been scraped off by the barbs, and the 2 palms were scraped off a layer of flesh by the barbs. In an instant, blood was dripping, and it was horrible to look at. Even the finger bones under the skin and flesh were clearly visible. He lost his ability to fight. What? Seeing this scene, the few people who rushed up were shocked and hurriedly replaced the kunai in their hands with other slightly longer weapons. They didn't want to end up like that unlucky guy. You actually want to beat me with physical skills? What a bunch of idiots. The Pufferfish Ghost sneered, drew his sword to defend, and easily blocked the attacks of several people. In addition to being able to fully utilize the power of their respective ninja swords, the 7 ninja swordsmen also means that each ninja sword user is a strong taijutsu expert. After all, each ninja sword is a close combat weapon. Being able to flexibly and skillfully use ninja swords means that each ninja sword user is a master of swords. However, the 7 ninja swordsmen are well known, and most people only pay attention to the unique abilities of the 7 ninja swords. Few people notice that the sword users are also masters of swords and strong taijutsu experts. In order to limit his Sumehoda's ability, this bunch of rubbish actually wants to defeat him by relying on taijutsu, which almost made him laugh. Then, he tightened his grip on the hilt, raised the barbs of Sumehoda again, and pulled along the hilt again. Seeing this, several Miss Ninjas were so scared that they quickly dropped their weapons and retreated in a hurry, no longer daring to confront Sumehoda head on. The pufferfish ghost took advantage of the situation to pursue, holding Sumehoda and pounced on it again, launching a swift attack on several cowardly guys. After all, his physical skills were stronger. After 3 consecutive slashes, he forced one of the Miss Ninjas into a desperate situation. The 4th knife used the barbs of Sumehoda to cut off a large piece of flesh from the man. Seeing that the man was half stained with blood, he fell to the ground and struggled in pain and had no strength to fight again. Chakra is a precious thing. It can't be wasted. Glancing at the terrified people, the puffer ghost did not chase them anymore, but instead put Sumehoda on the seriously injured guy, preparing to absorb some chakra to supplement. These people were afraid and did not dare to fight him head on again, just avoiding him blindly. Speed was not his strong point. If he wanted to kill all these people with physical skills, it would be too strenuous. Thinking of this, he raised Sumehoda and slashed at the nearest person. Just as they were puzzled, they saw that the handle of Sumehoda suddenly swelled up, and the whole blade flew out immediately. Good opportunity. Although they were a little surprised by Sumehoda's changes, the others rushed forward immediately after seeing the Sumehoda of the Fugu ghost leaving his hand. Many people overlooked that Sumehoda's ability was used in conjunction with the swordsmanship of the holder. If the swordsmanship was too poor, Sumehoda would not be able to cut anyone at all, let alone absorb chakra. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Arrival. Waste. After all, waste. Looking at the few people who took the opportunity to surround him, the pufferfish ghost sneered again and quickly flipped his fingers to perform a ninjutsu. Ninjutsu. 1,000 needles. The orange tips of his hair stood up again, and then under the effect of chakra, they turned into hard steel needles, which shot out in all directions, covering all the people around him. Unexpectedly, the pufferfish ghost threw out Sumehoda just as a feint, and his real purpose was to perform ninjutsu. Several besieged Miss Ninjas could not avoid it, and suffered a torrential attack at a very close distance. Thump, thump, thump. The 1,000 needles that turned into hair, with a little blood, penetrated through the bodies of several people, and instantly beat their bodies into sieves. Suffering such a heavy blow, the knees of those people softened, and they could no longer stand up. They immediately fell to the ground, and they didn't even have the strength to beg for mercy. As for the other guy, the guy that the pufferfish demon targeted with Sumehoda, he escaped because he blocked the flying blade, and did not move forward. But his good luck ended there. Just when he blocked Sumehoda, the huge mouth on the top of the blade suddenly opened, and immediately bit his arm. Caught off guard, the man screamed in pain and desperately poked Sumehoda with the kunai in his other hand, hoping to make it open its mouth. Let me go, you monster. Unfortunately, Sumehoda's blade looked like a living thing, but the surface was extremely hard, as if it was made of steel. His kunai poked it, not only did not leave any marks, but his hand was scratched by the barbs on Sumehoda's body. Come here. After dealing with the surrounding Miss Ninjas, the pufferfish demon pulled the handle of the knife in his hand back when he looked at the last person bitten by Sumehoda. The handle of Sumehoda's knife quickly retracted, and he immediately dragged the unlucky guy who was bitten to his side. No, no, no. Looking at the puffer ghost getting closer and closer, the man shouted in fear, I'm willing. Unfortunately, before he finished speaking, the puffer ghost caught up with him into steps, pinched his neck, and lifted him up like a chicken, so he couldn't say anything. I hate people begging for mercy the most. There is no backbone at all. The puffer ghost looked at him sarcastically and said, well. The man used his only remaining hand to hurriedly pat the hand that pinched his neck, desperately trying to beg for mercy, but his neck was pinched, so he could only make a sound of HMM, which made people confused. Despite this, the puffer ghost still saw from the other party's terrified and begging eyes that it meant begging for mercy and surrender. But he had no intention of letting this man go, otherwise, he would not have deliberately interrupted the other party just now. Remember, don't be a Kirigakure ninja in your next life. After saying that, with a smug laugh, the puffer ghost twisted the man's neck. At the edge of a battlefield, Nanashi supported Terumi Mei and looked at it from afar, without going forward again. Even with the buffer of the water prison technique, the two of them were still seriously injured in the collision of the last water dragon. If they went up rashly, they would only seek death. Do you see the gap between them and us? Nanashi asked the girl next to her softly. I see it clearly. Terumi Mei replied reluctantly with a frown. Whether it is ninjutsu or physical skills, a ninja of the level of the puffer ghost is not something she can fight against. Now it seems that her earlier idea of ending up to cause trouble for others is a complete joke. Too naive. Seeing that her will was somewhat depressed, Qishuang patiently persuaded her, we still need time to hone our skills, and this time does not belong to us. In the future, there will definitely be a place for us. For now, don't worry. Hearing what he said, Terumi Mei suddenly felt much more comfortable and sighed. I hope so. At this moment, Qishuang noticed that another young Miss Ninja came to the edge of the battlefield. Rather than saying young, it is better to say that he is young. Because the age of that person looks about the same as this, a young man with grey hair. When he discovered the young man, the man also discovered them, which shocked Qishuang and made him extremely alert. Because the other party is a lone traveler, a competitor in the battle for the Mizukage, it is very likely that he will attack them. Unfortunately, at this time, he and Terumi Mei were injured again, and their combat power was only 50%. It would be very dangerous to fight with others rashly. But his worry was obviously unnecessary. The man's eyes swept over them and fell on the pufferfish ghost who was absorbing the chakra of the seriously injured Miss Ninja. Then the young man rushed over like the wind. Look, here comes another desperate guy. Pointing at the young man who was rapidly approaching the center of the battlefield, Qishuang said to the girl in a signal. Terumi Mei looked at him carefully and said in confusion, that guy looks a little familiar. Because there was a distance between them, she couldn't see clearly. Do you know him? Qishuang asked curiously. He looks a bit like the genius of the Kizuna family, the son of the current Kizuna clan leader, Kizuna Mainjetsu. Terumi Mei said slowly. She had followed the clan to the Kizuna clan and had seen Kizuna Mainjetsu several times, so she felt that the man looked a bit similar to Kizuna Mainjetsu. Is it him? Qishuang was surprised. He still remembered that in his previous life, Kizuna Mainjetsu was a famous prodigy in the Hidden Mist village, who could freely control 7 ninja swords. However, Kizuna Mainjetsu at this stage did not look much stronger than them, and he had never heard of the name of this prodigy. He was a little curious about what kind of confidence he had to take the initiative to attack the Watermelon Mountain pufferfish ghost. You know him too? Hearing Qishuang's surprised tone, Terumi asked in surprise. No. Qishuang waved her hands repeatedly, looking at the two people approaching the battlefield and said, I just heard that there is a genius in the Kizuna family, but I have never seen him. However, the Kizuna clan sent such a young genius to compete for the position of Mizukage. Isn't it too much to underestimate others? If he died in the hands of the puffer ghost, wouldn't it be a big loss? He was puzzled. Maybe he came here to gain experience on purpose? Terumi proposed a possibility and continued. The water transformation technique of the Kizuna clan is extremely difficult to deal with. Although he can't beat the puffer ghost, it's not easy for the puffer ghost to kill him. Hearing this, Qishuang laughed at herself. I forgot about the water transformation technique of the Kizuna clan. With the ability of the water transformation technique to gather and disperse at will to protect themselves, the people of the Kizuna clan are really not easy to kill. On the battlefield, Hazuki Manayu rushed towards the pufferfish ghost. Seeing that the two were less than 10 meters apart, he quietly formed his hands into a pistol shape and pointed his index finger at the round figure. Water style, water cannon technique. Then, after the chakra was condensed, 2 bullet-like water drops suddenly shot out from the tip of his index finger and shot rapidly towards the watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost on the other side. Chapter 225 Sword Guard. It was a technique that compressed the water attribute chakra sharply and shot it out quickly. Although it looked ordinary and had no lethality, it actually had extremely strong penetrating power. It could penetrate a human body with one strike, causing fatal damage. It was a very dangerous technique. But Manyu's appearance did not escape the perception of the pufferfish ghost. Although he was absorbing the chakra that seriously injured the mist ninja on the ground, he still did not relax his vigilance around him. Therefore, when Manyu approached him within 10 meters, he found the opponent's trace. Naive boy. After noticing that Manyu used a long-range ninjutsu to attack him, he calmly placed the Samehuda in his hand horizontally to the side and lightly blocked the 2 compressed water bullets that were shot. At the same time, Hazuki Manyu also stopped about 5 meters away from Zigguashan pufferfish ghost. Wouldn't it be better to let me sneak up on you and kill you? If you are defeated head on later, you won't be able to save the reputation of the 7 ninja swordsman senior. Manyu slowly took out a scroll from his pocket and joked to the round man opposite him. Kill me. Hearing such a little guy talking about killing himself, Fugagi couldn't help but laugh out loud. You'd better think about how to survive from my hands. He looked at the boy with contempt and continued. I heard that you are the most outstanding genius in the history of the Hazuki clan. I wonder if the Hazuki clan will be heartbroken if you die here. Manyu spread the scroll on the ground, and while making a seal, he said, Master Fugagi, you are too kind. I think I'm still far behind the 2nd generation. I still can't bear the title of the most outstanding genius in the history of the Hazuki clan. Spiritual summoning technique. After saying that, he pressed his palm on the open scroll and poured chakra into it. After a puff of white smoke, a strange weapon connected to an axe and a hammer appeared on the scroll. The pupils of the puffer ghost on the other side shrank slightly, and he immediately recognized that it was the blunt knife Daoki, one of the 7 legendary ninja swords. It seems that the intelligence that main Jetsu Kizuki can use ninja swords is true. He thought silently. If the other party can't use ninja swords, he won't take out Daoki at all. At the moment, he is still uncertain whether main Jetsu can use multiple ninja swords as the intelligence says. At the same time, after main Jetsu Kizuki, many people appeared on the edge of the battlefield. Except for those mist ninjas who were still fighting with bloodshot eyes, the rest of them stopped in the distance and did not move forward. This is naturally because the watermelon mountain puffer ghost is too powerful and everyone is afraid, and there are also restrictions on the rules of the water shadow battle. One of the rules of the water shadow battle, no one can interfere in the battle between competitors. This is also the fairest clause in the entire battle. It is to prevent competitors from besieging other competitors with family forces. Even so, this rule cannot be absolutely fair, and there are many loopholes to exploit. Competitors can first assign family forces to consume opponents, and then take the opportunity to attack opponents. However, this rule still gives the other competitors a fair chance to compete. It is a rare consolation. On the other side, seeing main Jetsu Kizuki take out Kabutori, Nanashiro was also surprised. Another freak. He was shocked. The appearance of Kabutori means that the opponent can fully control the power of the ninja sword. But he clearly remembered that Tao Xiaoye had been dead for about 2 years, and it was not long before Kirigakure recovered the ownerless ninja sword. In addition, the previous war did not give main Jetsu Kizuki much time to familiarize himself with the power of the ninja sword. Moreover, he had never heard of the return of the new 7 ninja swordsmen. In other words, main Jetsu Kizuki mastered the power of the ninja sword in just 1 year after the war. This talent should not be underestimated. Seeing this, Meditarumi sighed helplessly. The sword guarding plan is really convenient. You can use any sword you want. Although she was no longer at the age of admiring the 7 ninja swordsmen, she still couldn't help wanting to try out the 7 legendary ninja swords. Unfortunately, there was no chance at all. Hearing the sour taste in her words, Qishuang didn't dare to provoke her and instead asked curiously, "What sword guarding clan?" Terumi looked back at him and seeing that he looked confused and really didn't know, she slowly said, "The second generation Mizukage, named Hazuki Jinjetsu, just happened to be from the Hazuki clan. You should know this, right?" "Yeah." Qishuang nodded. The mustache-wearing Mizukage looked unreliable, but his strength was extremely strong. If not for this, he wouldn't have been able to drag the second generation Tsuchikage, the first person to create bloodline elimination, down with him. Terumi continued, because of the second generation, he gave the Kido clan many conveniences during his reign, and cultivated the Kido clan into the largest clan in Kirigakure at that time. It was not until the second generation died unexpectedly that the Kido clan lost power and was suppressed by other major clans, that they were pulled down from the position of the first clan. The summoning contract of the 7 ninja swords is one of the legacies left to them by the second generation, which gives them the responsibility to guard the ninja swords. With the help of the summoning contract, they can recall the ownerless ninja swords at will. Therefore, the ownerless ninja swords of the entire Kirigakure village are in the hands of the Kido clan. This is also the origin of them being called the sword guarding clan. Hearing this, Nanashiro smiled and said, "The summoning contract of the 7 ninja swords means that when the 7 ninja swords are ownerless, they can use all 7 ninja swords at once. Although it may not be possible to exert the full power of the ninja swords, it should not be underestimated. Aren't you jealous at all? What's the use of jealousy?" Terumi shook her head, looked back at the battlefield, and said helplessly, after the third generation came to power, he also wanted to take back the summoning contract of the 7 ninja swords, but the Hazuki clan was determined not to hand it over. I even heard that, in order to get back the summoning contract of the 7 ninja swords, the Hazuki clan directly fought with the village. It happened that at that time, the 7 ninja swords were under their control, and no new ninja sword users were selected. The Hazuki clan used the 7 ninja swords to kill people, causing considerable losses to the village. Finally, for the stability of the Hidden Mist village, the third generation reached an agreement with the Hazuki clan. He gave up taking back the summoning contract of the ninja swords, and the Hazuki clan also released the control of the ninja swords, and could not interfere with the choice of the ninja sword users. From then on, no one questioned the Hazuki clan's control over the summoning contract of the 7 ninja swords. So that's it? Hearing this, Qishuang almost laughed out loud. It's not that everyone is not jealous, but that they have already taken action and bit the hard bone. But then again, the Hazuki clan must have been suppressed by the major families since the death of the second generation. If they lose the summoning contract of the 7 ninja swords, they will probably become even weaker, and it will be even harder to rise again. If it were him, he would not hand over the summoning contract. Only in their chaotic Kirigakure could they openly confront the village and still get away with it. If it were the other 4 villages, they would have been wiped out long ago. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.